Hey, we're back online. So what happened was that our stream ended, and it shouldn't have. So I have to contact StreamYard about that. I'm going to try and get the Underpresence guys back in here so that they could say goodbye. Let us know how how to find them, and then we're going to get out and we're going to step in for Rob and the comic book session. Again, this is live streaming. We've never done this before, so we expect hiccups. Thank you for playing along and being patient with us. So hold on a second. Let me see if I can get the Underpresence guys back in here. Matt, if you want to take it away while I go find them.
While you round them up, huh? Yep. And so
I'm going to round them up.
And so, yep, we're not sure what happened there, guys. We were in the middle of wrapping up with the Underpresence, and then all of a sudden I realized that we were dead on the air, or not on the air. But so we're going to get those guys back over here and finish up with them. But again, if you haven't done so, mark down to search up the Underpresence on YouTube or theunderpresence.com. It's a cool little show. I don't know if you're into the paranormal, you've probably ran into the same shows that I have that, they started out okay the first, half a season or season. And then all of a sudden you realize that they're starting to just call anything a possible hit, whether it is just a shadow that's off camera or it's a piece of dust that's on the film. And you can tell, pretty sure that's dust. It doesn't look like it's an orb, but they're going to call it one. And the whole reason for that is because they have the networks behind them and the producers behind them that are not a part of the actual creative team. And they are, forced to go back in and make something up for the, to fill the time, because there was just too much boring crap. And that's not what you get with the Underpresence. They've got some characters that they've created. And so when things may not be going as, rapidly or moving as rapidly along as they that we would like, as, they know the viewers would like, then they've got this little drama going on. And what did they call it, Steve?
Dramumentary.
Dramumentary. That's it. And so they're making their way back over here, but let's see. No, nobody else yet. And sorry about that. We're not sure what happened there, Steve. Our license is supposed to allow us to stream for many, many hours, and then all of a sudden we were dead on the water. So, but we wanted to finish up with you guys, of course, and didn't want to rob you of any of the time. But explain, because we've got some viewers here that are here for the comic book section that's up next. So you got some fresh eyes on it. And here I see Jake sneaking in now. And
wow.
And that's a face only a mother could love, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Hey,
Mama Strata.
I got the same thing. Meredith is the one that wanted to do this whole video thing. I was like, a podcast, I've got a face for radio, but the video thing, I don't know about this, but we'll take it as it is. But Steve, tell everybody what you do with tell everybody what the Underpresence is, and then what your job is. Well, and then I thought you left, and it was Meredith that left. And then Jake, you explain about the characters and everything.
All right.
Okay. I'm a tech whiz at the Underpresence, a paranormal investigator as well. Aside from the Underpresence, I'm a NASA employee. And with the Underpresence, the characters are characters, but the investigations are real. And we add a different twist to the paranormal world, to keep it fun and interesting. And we do prayers before each investigation, and we're very respectful. We don't taunt, we don't use disrespect or violence, and we try to help the souls cross over and try to find answers.
Very cool. And that was a big part that I missed when I was giving everybody a rundown is that the investigations are real. It's just that the characters that Jake and I'm going to totally slip his name.
Chuck.
Thank you. I do this all the time. You can ask Meredith. I forget what I'm saying all the time. But anyway,
hey,
I
totally get that, man.
The characters are for fun. It's not just stupidity. There's actually a driven story. They're not just making up or ad-libbing as they go. And then Jake, you explain about the characters.
Yeah, so Chuck and I, we sat down and we decided to create some drama by creating some, characters. But so I play a former priest, and Chuck plays a character called Jesus, Father Jesus. And this character is like larger than life. He screams saying, "I am the spirit magnet." And then my character and him, we bump heads a lot, and we're fighting and everything like that. So, but the investigations themselves, though, are real, 100% real. We wanted to focus on, like, if there was going to be any other kind of drama, it would be the characters, not the actual investigations, because like a lot of these other shows, they create all this fake crap, like people getting dragged and all kinds of weird things on all these other ghost shows sometimes, and they add like faces to the dust balls. These were all types of things that Chuck and I were against. We were like, no, if we're going to capture the actual real evidence, we're going to leave that alone untouched, and we're going to either prove it's real or debunk it. And Steve himself has debunked quite a few things, even at Ashley's Furniture as well. Like he could tell you about, like, people have said they get pushed down the steps, and he found out that on the steps it's actually like loose and kind of tilted on the right, Steve?
Yes, it creates almost a funhouse effect where the stairs kind of lean to one side ever so slightly, and so you may get the feeling of being off foot or off balance, which that's all it basically is.
See, and that's the kind of stuff that I want out of a paranormal show is, and like I said a while ago before we were so rudely interrupted by the disconnect, is that I don't care if the investigation doesn't bring anything fruitful. I want to know that, especially if it's someplace that is famous, for being haunted. And, and so you guys bringing in the drama part of it is a refreshing aspect of it to me. I hope you guys keep that as you go along. As season 2, of course, is on hold right now, but as the virus is calmed down, then hopefully you guys can get back to filming really quick. I know you guys told us earlier that y'all have a lot of stuff planned for season 2, some cool stuff. Guys, these crazy son of a bitches dug up a Ouija board out of someone. They heard a story about someone burying it, and now they're going to use it. So check them out as theunderpresence.com, the Underpresence on YouTube. And guys, any last words? Any famous last words, Jake?
If you have a haunting, let us know. We might come visit you. We might drive to you after this whole incident is over with. But other than that, I want to see you. And make sure you check us out on YouTube and on our Facebook pages and soon on Amazon. Any words, Steve?
Well, let's thank Meredith for having us. It was a very cool experience. It was a pleasure meeting all of you as well.
Fantastic. It was great having you guys. Tell Chuck we said thanks. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm sure we're going to be meeting again, especially once you guys get back up and rolling. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye. All right. Well, Rob, you have got a green room full, so I am going to back out and let you have it, sir.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to basically what you would see at a Comic-Con. This is where all the creators are hanging out with indie comics. We're going to be talking to some great creators. We're going to be doing it, so we're going to go one at a time to every creator, let them pitch their books. We're going to have different creators showing up on and off throughout the hour and 25 minutes that we have. We thank Geek Out for doing this, and GeekInsider for, of course, doing this, because we're thrilled to be here. Of course, I run Indie Advocates. For those who don't know me, it's weird. Usually I'm the one hosting it, so everyone knows me. I am the underground indie advocating devil, and I am here to introduce you to some amazing people. You can follow me at indieadvocates.com or MrAnderson.com. But first, I want to show you just how many people we have. Let me see how many people we can actually fit in the stream. We might be able to get everyone at once. How exciting is this? There will be more coming, I'm sure. We lost a couple people. What we're going to do is go around. Everyone's on mute right now, so that's cool. I'll just go around the room. Give your pitch. I want you guys to think of it this way. Someone's just walked up to your table, and they stopped. They have you in their eyes, and they looking at you. What do you do next? And we're going to go around opposite order. So we'll start over here with Brian. And then as you guys see your picture come up, just start talking. Brian, you have the floor.
All right. I did want to go first. Hey, welcome to my table. I'm Brian Silverbacks. I'm an indie artist. I started out doing comics, comic covers for Scout Comics. And then I ended up doing my own comic book and created my own character, Loggerhead, who's a big giant turtle man that kicks a lot of ass as if he's like in a horror movie. So I do this kind of stuff. I got covers for days and I take commissions. So on to the next dude, I guess. And check out Brian Silverbacks on social media. That was quick.
Hi, I'm Daniel Calvin. I am the writer of American Dreams, of which we have issue 1 and issue 2. It's a comic set in 1900s New York City, where a young immigrant gets caught up in a mad science experiment that's being done by Thomas Edison. And when that goes horribly wrong, he gains superpowers and has to decide what to do with them. And so it gets this whole backdrop of the turn of the 20th century. So you have Harry Houdini showing up, Emma Goldman, J.P. Morgan, the aforementioned Thomas Edison, and a few surprises along the way. They'll point him in the direction of if he's going to use the powers for good or for evil and what he's going to do with them because he's to decide what he's going to do. And they're published by Short Fuse Media. And that's it for now. So on to the next guy. Thanks, guys.
Hey, everyone. I'm Phil Falco, and I am the creator of Haunting. It's a supernatural horror comic which follows our lead, Bram, a bratty teenager who raises the dead wherever he goes. First-time creator here, so very excited to be launching this project. The first issue is on Kickstarter right now. The elevator pitch I would give is that wherever he goes, the dead rise. He spent his entire life turning a blind eye to this, not really paying much mind to the damage that he causes, but his past starts to catch up with him when a vengeful man from his past corners him and an innocent bystander in a small town. I guess that's everything I have, so I'll hand off to the next person.
Hey, Preston Poulter, you missed the intro. We are just introducing ourselves. The idea is that someone has just come by your comic book table at a Comic-Con, and we're doing intros like how you would pitch to someone. We'll give you a couple minutes to see how everyone else is doing it, and then we're going to jump to you. Okay, Preston?
Okay.
And Jonathan's joining us too. Jonathan, I see you in the green room. We'll be with you in a minute. But first, we're going to move over to the one, the only Travis Gibb.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my table. I just finishing a packing order for comics that are ordered online. Let me show you what I got here. So right here, we got broke down 4 Dead Bodies. This is a great book. I know it's a little glossy on that. We've got all sorts of alternate covers. You know, if you like sketch covers, these flip. They're called our artist editions. But broke down 4 Dead Bodies, about 2 guys who break down on the side of the road. Lots of guns, lots of violence, lots of F words. We've got the first 2 issues out right now. And then, sorry, there's a kid is Naomi. Can you not do that right now? And then Parallels. We've got Parallels. This is my short stories, a whole bunch of short stories in there, which is really cool. And then last but not least at my table, I've got the Advocator. So what this is 6 short stories, 4 pages each. We got 3 editions of this. I just grabbed one. Each of them has a 4 pages, like a gateway into somebody else's universe. If you want to look at any of my stuff, it's at brokedown4deadbodies.com. Thank you.
Don't you do a book called Advocator too?
I just promoted the Advocator.
No, but isn't it coming this year? Don't you want to talk about the open submission?
I've got a lot of stuff. Sure. All right. So we got Cthulhu Invades Oz. That's a really cool thing coming out. We've got basically a whole bunch of Cthulhu creatures invading Wizard of Oz. Brian, you just saw, he's going to be in it, which is really cool. Advocator's got some issues coming out. We got 2020. So if you are an indie creator, as you're seeing this right now, you can submit a 4 to 10 page story to be an Advocator 2020. It's going to be a trade paperback. We're really excited about it. It's kind of changing the format. Last year, we had to decline a lot of people. We did 3 issues, but instead of just doing 3 issues this time, we're just going to all put it in one big giant one. So that's it.
Preston, are you ready to go?
Well, I don't need I mean, look, I do a convention a week back when the conventions actually existed. So, I mean, I've pitched my comic books like literally thousands of times. I can give you guys pointers if you want.
No, we want to know what you create.
Oh, okay.
Tell us what you create.
Oh, I make a comic book called White Lily, which is about the 2 deadliest female fighter pilots who ever lived. And there's Guinevere and the Divinity Factory. And probably on Monday, I'm going to launch a custom cover for issue 2 on that on Indiegogo. And that one's sales on that one are big compared to White Lily. So I guess that's the direction people want to go in. It's got, sexy lady and magic. And there will be Gatsby in issue 4 because he's gonna enter the public domain by the time that comes out. And when I was presenting the writing pages, because I also have a writing group on my channel on Wednesdays over at Pocket Jacks Comics, and we were going over some of the pages for issue 4, and one of the notes was, man, this story can go anywhere, like, because it's got the spiritual dimension and space and sci-fi. So it's this magical sci-fi world that has a lot of possibilities, as well as a lot of retros, because we're in the 20s again. So really, my idea for making it was to explore a lot of 20s motifs. So we've got like flapper dresses and Gatsby and Art Deco architecture, and the comic is kind of about feel and style in terms of its creation, and people seem to be responding to it. So I'm pretty happy with that.
And we're going to go ahead and hot tag in Jonathan. Jonathan, give us your pitch. We just showed up to your table. Tell us why we should invest in you.
All right. Well, I have a book called Freak Show Princess. Here you go. This is my zombie one-shot story. I just ended a Kickstarter for this book that was successfully funded, almost triple funded, actually. And it's like I said, a short story about a woman trapped in her house, boarded up house during a zombie apocalypse with her dog, and she's reminiscing about the events that kind of led her into that situation. I also have a superhero book called Capable. Here's the main cover of it. And the premises of Capable is a world where one day handicapped people wake up with a superpower that's opposite of what their disability was. So issue 1 is kind of an origin story for the main character. And as the series progresses, we're going to see what people are going to do with those newfound powers. Besides that, here's the Kickstarter cover for Freak Show Princess. This was limited print only for the Kickstarter. Leanna Kangas, who did She Said Destroy for Vault, did that cover for me. So really excited to be able to work with her. And when issue 2 comes out within the next month or so, I'll have a Kickstarter for Capable issue 1 and 2. So that's what I got going on. Short and sweet.
And I am Mr. Anderson. I create books about fetish monsters and more, including a book about a farting elephant that actually teaches morals. I also am part of the Advocator team and have some great, exciting projects coming up. But today, we're here to entertain you. So if you guys have questions, please ask them in the question area. We're going to go around the room and we're going to talk about some stuff. And the first thing I want to talk about, because we're here, I want to talk to the creators about pitching. And we're going to be doing a panel on this next week. So this is a preview to a panel that we will entirely dedicate an entire show to. But for now, we're going to open up the floor and we're going to talk about the importance of pitching. And Preston, if you want to take the begin on this, because I can't see you raise your hand, just go ahead and start us off.
How about Luke?
I don't get to pitch?
Yeah.
Luke, sorry. I'm sorry, Luke. Are you good? You didn't answer. I'm waiting to see if you said you had computer problems. I said, tell me when you're good.
I'm all set. Yeah, I'm all set. Yeah, I'm all set.
Luke was having problems, so I was trying to be nice to Luke. But go ahead, Luke.
All right. Hey, my name is Luke Stone, and I'm the writer and artist behind Hybrids, the Sons of Gods. I do all words and pictures, and that's basically what I like to tell people. So if you like comics, this is the right place to be. If you're like me and you've ever been into like Greek mythology growing up, then this is probably kind of the book for you. If you've heard of a creature called the Nephilim, you might already have a little bit of a backstory to this, but if you don't, the Nephilim were a creature that was basically an angel-human hybrid, and a bunch of different religions talk about this kind of thing that happened, and they predate the Greek gods by about 1,500 years. And so many people, smarter than me, believe that the Greek gods were actually just exaggerations of real-life Nephilim. So I started thinking, the whole 23andMe, the Ancestry.com thing. What if some people were actually descendants of ancient Nephilim and they were walking around with some angel DNA in them or the Nephilim DNA in them? And what if instead of like a recessive trait that would give you red hair or blue eyes, maybe you had a recessive trait that if something could happen to wake it up, you'd be able to lift buildings or teleport or control things with your mind. And I thought, man, that'd be really cool. Just walking around no one's really walking around now anywhere, but you get my point, right? So we started having that idea, and that was really kind of where Hybrids, the Sons of Gods come from. It's a action adventure story that's set around kind of this advent of the new superhuman species. It includes theories kind of surrounding the Nephilim and ancient aliens and things like that. And it's really, to be honest, it's set against a rescue attempt. We find out that people that start to develop these powers overnight, seemingly out of nowhere, these people start to vanish, and they're being abducted by a deadly human trafficking ring. And so we follow a small group of heroes that's set to try to rescue them. We've got, right now, we're kickstarting the entire saga, the whole first arc of Trash Day, but it's the 5th issue. We actually have really cool covers on our Kickstarter right now. You see that lava. We're going to do an entire set of books with that. But we do have all 5 books available on our Kickstarter. You can see that. We've also got then we have the 5th book, and then we also have a special Kickstarter only mini comic that's kind of like a zero series, a zero issue. We've got hats, we've got shirts, more shirts. There you go. You see it? There, it's upside down, but that's cool. So we've got all this stuff going on. We've got trading cards, we've got buttons, we've got stickers, we've got posters galore. We've got all kinds of stuff, and we're actually even in development with an RPG game, so theater of the mind kind of stuff. We're really excited about that, and you can check us out on Kickstarter at Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, 1 through 5, the complete first arc.
All right, so you're good to go, Luke, now fully. Computer's all reset.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Do me a favor, gentlemen. Drop in your private chat. You see the bottom part that's actually scrolling my sites. Give me your sites. Give me a place they can find you, and we'll have it scroll throughout the whole program today. So while we're talking about it, Preston, start us off. How important is a pitch at a Comic-Con?
Oh, it's very important. Let's see, and the last con I did, like right before quarantine hit, was Wizard World Columbus. No, yeah, it was Columbus. Cleveland. Sorry, Wizard World Cleveland. I get all these cities in Ohio confused. I'm a Texan. I'm like, what? It's a city in Ohio. But it was me, and I had an artist to my right, and after like 2 days, and I'm selling pretty well, and he was a little disgruntled because he wasn't selling quite as well. And on like Sunday, last day of the show, he looks at me and he goes, "You're really good at calling people over to your table." I'm like, "Yeah, I am." So then he kind of starts to adapt a little bit after kind of witnessing me in action. But if you're not there and calling people's attention to your product, you're not going to sell much. It's part of what you got to do. Now, of course, there are certain things you can do in terms of signage and whatnot that kind of people might passively come by and look at things, and every little bit helps. But primarily, I assume we're talking about conventions, or are we talking about something else?
No, we're trying to start, but I mean, let's be honest. Our pitches have now got to adapt to these online environments as well. So if you have any advice for it now being part of an online, because we don't always have something set up behind us. I knew this was happening, so I got all my banners set up behind me in my bedroom. I've been going for 20 days plus now. Not everyone's doing this. Not everyone's converted their bedroom into a Comic-Con where they have comic books at a hand's reach. So if you have an adaptation idea for our current situation, please share it.
Well, I mean, really, the primary marketing channel. All right, so there are 3 when it comes to comic books that I've observed. There's the one that has been suffered the most, and that's putting out a comic book through Diamond to go into comic book stores. I mean, that one's shut down right now. The second means of coming up with a comic book and monetizing it is, of course, like Indiegogo and Kickstarter and YouTube and Twitter and all that. And that avenue is still wide open, which is great. And then the third one is conventions, which has also been, shut down right now. And each of those has kind of a different mode of attack. If you want to like place ads in previews and just distribute through Diamond and hope you can make the minimum order, well, then you don't really have to worry about pitching too much, because Diamond will happily take your money and place your ads and whatnot. But the more you're interacting with people, the more you need to be able to shift focus, and needs to be specific. Like these things don't need to be general. These things need to be like you, whatever audience member you're targeting, you product, and here's you product Y kind of thing. So it needs to be like you should get this, and here's why. And when you start kind of going into it's this thing about the whatever, I mean, really those things are only of interest if the target in general is kind of interest. So I try and make them really short. It's like with it's the story of the two deadliest female fighter pilots who ever lived. And that either interests you or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, well, I'm not going to keep going on about it because there's something else I could talk about. Like I could shift the focus to Guinevere or try and re-engage them on other things. So.
All right, guys, raise your hands. Who has a comment about pitching or has an idea to share? I'll back out. Luke's hand went up first, and then we got Travis. So I'm going to back out so Travis can come in, and Luke, start off.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really saved me a lot of time is actually asking if people are into comics, because you'd be surprised how many people might be wearing a Batman T-shirt or walking a convention floor that maybe aren't necessarily into comics. They don't really read them. They don't collect them. So you can save a whole lot of breath by just asking, hey, do you like comics? And then if they do, ask them if you got a couple minutes to pitch. Of course, that's when we're going to be in a convention floor, but here it's a little bit different. And like Preston said, there's all kinds of ways that you can do it. And obviously Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all these places are a great place to pitch and to promote. But it's really nice that you can kind of seek out people, because right now people are actually looking for books. Even the independent, even the stores are looking for books, and only independent companies are really supplying stories for these guys now because their customers still want new content. So, but that's just kind of my advice. Make sure that who you're pitching to actually wants to read a comic book, or else you're just going to waste your breath.
So my advice, obviously, is do something fun and cool. For instance, right now, the first person who comments on stuff, hey, I'd like a free book, I'm going to send him a free book. I broke down in 4 Dead Bodies. I'll send you it immediately because I'm going to the post office in a couple minutes. Have something unique to bring them to the table. And also, when you pitch, don't be afraid to switch off to the next guy if you don't feel a vibe. Rob is really quick on getting me. I like to talk to people. I like to get to know them. But there's buyers and there's people who are going to really gravitate to you, but know what they want, right? Know if they are a collector. Pitch them the collector's package. See if they're interested in those collector's packages. But if they're not, just go ahead and sell them a single issue. I see a lot of people lose sales because they're continuing to up the sale, and then they lost the sale completely. So my biggest advice is figure out who your audience is, sell to them directly.
Anyone else have a comment on this? We'll rotate you in. Anything further about it? Or we can move on to our next comment. Go ahead, Dan.
So I usually work with Kat Calamia when we table at conventions, and she's very good at asking, like what Luke said, hey, do you like comics? And even if they say no, she'll bring them into the pitch, and I'll bounce off of that. But you still have to really work the pitch these days, and you really have to really work hard. What else? But yeah, just bouncing off what Luke was saying, that even if they say no, just push a little bit. See, they might get up because she's gotten turnover, because I've seen people say no and then still buy the book.
Now, what about the energy? I want Brian to start this because I've seen Brian at conventions, and he has just this magnetic. If you're anywhere near him in an alley, you will hear him. He is excitable. He is awesome. He's got a lot of energy. How important is that energy? Like a wrestler, I think. You have to be ready to go, but you have to go every time someone comes to your table. Talk to us, Brian.
I just try to create a experience, right? I don't want to bark at them. I don't want to say, come on down. I don't like being the guy, hey, I see you're wearing a Flash shirt. I got some Flash fan art for you. I don't like doing that. But if somebody wants to take the time and walk up to me and say, hey, man, tell me more about what you got going on. I've got so much stuff going on, and I just want to pack it all, and you tell me where to go from there. So I'll tell you about the stuff that I've drawn, tell you about the stuff that I've written. I'll even tell you about the people that I've worked with and the stuff that I may have going on. Give you little nuggets, and then quickly wait for you to give me something to go on. I want the customer to appreciate me as a person and what I've got going on and the energy that I'm putting out there, so that even if my art was crap, I would want them to say, you know what, I like that guy. I like what he's doing. I like what he stands for. I'm going to give him some of my money. So that's my goal going into it, is just show you who I am and have you believe in what I'm doing.
All right. And anyone else have something to say about energy? Because I think it's one of the most important things, and it's the hardest thing to do, especially over a 4-day show, which, by the way, for those watching, yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to miss MegaCon. MegaCon was supposed to be next weekend, and that was going to be huge, and that's a 4-day show, and that's a show that you go home feeling it. You are not right for Monday and Tuesday because your voice is hurt, and you're it's not depressed, you're spent. So that energy gets spent. Luke, talk to me. How important? I mean, you were at Ancient City, and you're the only person who sold a comic book.
I sold all of my comic books at Ancient City. But yeah, I just want to piggyback off what Brian said. It really is about the energy, and it's about the fan experience. When people buy a ticket to one of those things, they're not going in there just so that they can shop a flea market. They're going in there so that they can have an experience, whether that be with some of the special guests that are there, or whether that be with some of the cosplayers or different presenters that are there. And so when they come by, I want them to be able to have an experience. I want them to walk away saying, you know what, whether they bought the book or not, he had a good time with Luke at his table. He's a cool guy, and I'm excited about independent comics because he's excited about independent comics. So I think it's important, and also to keep that energy up. The most important thing, I would say, hydrate, because you can lose your voice pretty quick over a long weekend. And basically what we've been doing recently is really kind of pitching and keeping that energy up with a bunch of different live feeds and live streams and stuff. And so, just to piggyback off that, think about the experience for the fan and help them connect and have something fun to walk away from.
Anyone else have any other comments about this, or can we move on to the? Okay, good, Jonathan, hit us up.
Yeah, I think what makes a huge difference with a con, an in-person con and a virtual con, is at the in-person con you can actually put the product in the person's hand, and they can, it's that tangible connection to the product. Whereas, on these virtual cons, even if you can get the people to watch, putting it in their hand there's so much more steps to do that. Here's the link, but now they have to click the link. Now they have to search, and now they have to pay for the shipping and wait for it in the mail and so forth. So I can't wait to get into a live con again. I think those are super important. And yeah, I'm going to miss MegaCon. June can't come soon enough.
The noises in the background are my son. He's going to be our sounds of a Comic-Con. So we're all going to feel like we're at a Comic-Con with a crazy kid making crazy sounds. Phil, I want to talk to you. Phil, I'm gonna bounce out our friend Jonathan for a minute and bring Phil in. Phil, you're new. Are you intimidated to hit that first table? Like, are you practicing pitching right now? Are you listening to all these people around you and like taking notes? Because I remember when I was new, I was like, tell me everything you do so I can do it too when I get there.
Oh, absolutely. My first con was actually supposed to be about a week from now. That was going to be where I wet my feet, a really small local con. And then everything happened, and I had to very quickly adapt to virtual cons, finding everything I could. Obviously, since I'm new, I'm not in a position to give much advice, but one thing I definitely keep having to remind myself is to be comfortable with your voice and hearing yourself talk. I have this thing where when I open my mouth, I immediately say, oh, that's what I sound like, and I stop talking. And then I think part of, like you were saying, energy and confidence sells the book just as much as the concept, just as much as the art, just as much as looking at it.
That's absolutely true, and I totally understand that. Let's change gears, Phil. You do have something to say because you have a new set of eyes. So what I want you to do today is I want you to listen to us, and I want you to ask questions. I want you to be like, hey, guys, what about this? What about that? I want you to be the person in the room who's testing what we know, and I want you to put us on blast when you think that we might not be doing something, because sometimes we get jaded. We get old. We get stuck in a rut. and we don't remember how it is to be new. And I think there's something fantastic about someone who's doing this for the first time, because there's that new energy of not just nervousness, but I want to conquer the world. And I see a lot of creators. We all go to bad shows and we all suffer through that. Oh my God, not this again. When you're going to the second day after the first bad day at a show. Hello, Ancient City. And it's hard when you have bad shows like that, because it takes away from you. So I want to talk about that, guys. How do you regroup? Phil, I'm going to put you in the back. If you have any comments, just do me a favor, raise your hand, and we're going to bring you right back up, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, guys. How do we rally? I want to talk about that. Preston, I can't see you, so I'm going to let you start. How do you rally at a bad show? Because that is so important. And for everyone who knows, bad shows isn't about you guys who are watching. Sometimes it's about the promoter and how they promoted the show. It's about the parking. We know you guys show up and you paid $30 for parking. And look at that beautiful art from Brian. And we get it. You guys show up. Show off the art, Brian. Show off the art. So we have that thing where look at that. See, I miss that. I miss going to shows and seeing the art and seeing the energy. So how do we rally? How do we rally from bad shows? Who wants to start after Preston? Just raise your hand. Preston, what do we do to rally after a bad show?
Well, all right. So, I mean, look, after a show, I mean, it's over, right? So I don't worry too much about rallying after a bad show.
No, I mean after the first day. Sorry.
Oh, after the first day, right? Well, what I do, which seems to work, is I have an iPad where I collect email addresses, and that's a big help. By the way, I recommend that you collect email addresses, because then when you go to do your crowdfund, you've got all these people who have expressed interest, and it helps you build your network. But I mean, I have a playlist of like 3.5 days worth of music and a Bluetooth speaker that lights up and stuff. And so, like, look, I'm just there listening to I'm there of the opinion that I'm just kind of doing this fun little party that's at my table. And, I invite people to join. And if there's nobody there, well, I'm listening to music. I enjoy it. I'm kind of singing along, and, I'm having a good time. And I think that's one of the first real requirements, is that you have to be in a mood that people want to be around, and, be like, oh, well, what's this person got going on? They seem like, because it's just human nature. If they see you having a good time, they think, well, what is that person doing that I might do that I might also have a good time? So it kind of engenders a lot of conversation and interaction. I mean, the other school is just to kind of put on a happy face even when you're not feeling it. And I don't know. I mean, I feel that's not my style. Other people can do that, but if I'm feeling down, I'm going to be a little more subdued. And I've got like way more subdued pitches. I've got but I feel music is really key to keeping my energy up. I think it's one of the easiest vehicles to kind of keeping and maintaining a vibe. So that's how I conduct myself.
Brian, I want to hot tag you in. I know you had a hard show last year.
2 back to back.
Yeah,
2 shows, 2 cities, $0 made.
Wow.
But
Okay.
Brian had said such a passionate video, and I don't think a lot of people got it. I think the ones who do cons absolutely got what he was saying. And a lot of people I saw said, finally, someone has said what we're all thinking.
My thing was, during the show, like, if I don't make any money, that's fine. But I figure that somebody who takes the time to talk to me, to ask me about the shit that's going on, or the stuff. If I have a $1 item on my table, which I do, I have trading cards that are $1, and there's 70 different trading cards to choose from. I feel that if you've chewed up 20 minutes talking to me, the least you can do is buy one of these cards that we've talked about during the show. And it's so frustrating, because I could be at home drawing, I could be at home writing, and yet you're like, well, Brian, why can't you do that stuff at the show? Well, you can, but there's a difference between I'm not in my zone, I'm not in my comfort place, and I'm not ready to crank out the quality work that I want to crank out sitting at the table with an uncomfortable steel chair. So I don't know, man. I don't rally back. I just hate doing them. So I've gotten to the point now where I just won't do. I'm trying not to do shows because the amount of disappointment. Everybody and their cousin in every city wants to have a Comic-Con, but nobody wants to put in the work to make sure that people show up to the show, and that's what's disheartening.
I'll actually stand and applaud that. That is exactly why we started GreaterCon. You have all these people showing up, not doing things. Travis Gibb, Phil says that he would love a free book, and we'll do a review for you as well.
Phil and I have already talked. This is his book. I gave him issue 1 and 2, and I'm packing it right now so I can get to the post office by 1. I'm actually going to jump off pretty quickly.
All right. And so tell them where they can follow you again so you can make your way out and go get Phil his book.
Yeah, you can find me at brokedown and 4deadbodies.com. We're doing a special right now. If you guys are interested in the book, if you buy 1, I'll give you issue 2 for free. It's really cool. That's where you can find me. Follow me on Facebook, Travis Gibb, or Jester Lou on Instagram and Twitter. But I'd love to connect with you, or just message me if you want to talk about comics. I'd love to talk about it. We got a lot of cool things coming up. Jonathan and Brian are both in Cthulhu Invades Oz. That's going to be a really cool book later this year. So we've got so many cool things to talk to you about. And since I don't have a con to come meet you, you have to come to me so I can talk. So that's it. Signing off.
See you, Travis.
Bye.
Rob, I think you're muted.
I am muted. That's why. I was saying Brian because Jax was screaming. Jack, go ahead.
Yes.
I was like, are you changing the light bulb or are you trying to...
No, I wanted to raise my hand because I had a thing that just, regardless of if we're in quarantine or not, please don't underestimate the power of social media. Like it is a big FD for you to be on social media and to try to gather as many people as you can on social media. Instagram is phenomenal because when you do shows, these are the people that you meet and they're going to follow you. But it's the stuff that I make after I get home. I make more money sitting at home because of the people that I've met through social media. I let's say I go to a show that's 3 days and I'll make, $700, but over the course of the next month, I'll make an additional $700 sitting at my artist table, taking commissions from people that are, hey, I got this going on. And I just want to reiterate the importance of being active on social media. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you all the cool stuff that I've done due to social media, but if you keep your art or your comic book Instagram just for your comic and comic book stuff, then and when people see that stuff, that's your resume. That's your digital resume. So if I'm looking for someone to be part of a project I'm doing, I'm going to go to your social media. And if your social media is BS, I'm not going to mess with you. So just my pointer to anybody, make sure your social media game is on point if you're trying to make it.
And that's great advice, guys. And we're going to have Meredith come in to do a giveaway in just a second. But as we wait for Meredith to come in here and do part of the Geek Out giveaways brought to you by GeekInsider, I do want to touch on one quick thing. And this one is actually going to be, I'm going to bring Phil in this. And I'm going to let Phil answer this. As fans, just fans, what shows do you pick to go to and why? Forgetting being a creator. And then after Meredith gives away the thing when she's ready, we'll come back and we'll talk about as creators why we pick a show. But just as fans, guys, quickly tell us why you pick a show to do and what show do you pick to do. So I'm going to back out and then Meredith will come back in. But Dan, we haven't heard from you in a while. Take this one away. Start this one off for us.
My favorite show as a fan is after my hometown con, New York Comic Con. It's all my favorite writers, all my favorite artists, and I always find new things and new people as well. And opens a lot of new works I haven't seen yet and a lot of stuff that I haven't had a chance to. And it's great to interact with all these people. Though after 2 days or 3 days, I'm dead, but it's just a really great show to go to as a fan, even though I might be just exhausted afterwards. and it's just really great to have this, big giant con experience. but maybe just once a year.
Hey again, everyone. I'm going to give, as much as I agree with Daniel, I think New York Comic Con is great. It's great having something right in my backyard and so much energy and passion there. I think there's also something to be said about small cons, though, local cons. I'm out on Staten Island in New York, and we have a New York Comic Con every year, which is very small, very local. You really get to know all of the creators who are there. They have plenty of like really small contests. It's like very easy to get wrapped up in the energy when it's the same group every year. It's the same creators you see all the time. And it's just it feels fan made. It feels more fan made, I would say. And that really contributes to the experience.
All right, guys, that's the sound of a giveaway coming. And I'm going to step out so Meredith can give some awesome stuff away to those of you watching. Here it comes. Meredith, hot tag for you. We're having technical difficulties. Give me 1 second. I'm going to bring Meredith back on.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me? All right. Technical difficulties. And it might be my internet. I don't know. But we've got one more giveaway to do during this session here, and I'm going to show it right now. It is Swamp Thing. The comic book it is DC Comics #7. So if you guys, we're only giving this away to the live stream audience. So if you're live, and even if you're in one of these seats, guys, leave a message on one of the social media where this is posted, and we are going to put you in the queue. We're going to do a random drawing in a couple minutes, and so that's it. We've got Swamp Thing here, #7, and this is a random giveaway. It is donated by Kevin Guillot of NSC Live TV, and he also does Hanging with Web. He's with Paper Heroes Charities, and we just wanted to give him a shout out because he's got a few of comic books and things that we are going to give away that he donated for Geek Out Virtual Con. All right, I'm going to give it back to you, Rob.
And I'm back. There we go. It always helps if you unmute yourself. All right, guys. So let's switch the gears a little bit. Phil, I'm gonna bring in one of the other creators. We'll come back to you in a little bit. We're gonna bring in Dan again. Okay, guys. So why do you pick a show as a creator? This is the other side of it. Let's start with Preston. What are you looking for, Preston, to give your money to buy a table?
Well, it's all about profit at the end of the show. So if it's a local show, I know my costs are going to be lower. So, like I'm very aggressive when it comes to doing local shows. But if it's a show where there's going to be some travel involved, it's going to be, about kind of how well do people tend to do at that show. And so, if you do enough of these shows, you start to get kind of con buddies. Like you're seeing some of the same artists across from you all the time. And you'll be like, hey, Wizard World Cleveland, is that any good? And you'll kind of get these discussions about like, oh yeah. So I know, like for instance, Albuquerque Comic Con, and there's another big show in Albuquerque, and those are good shows because people say those are good shows. You should definitely do that. And if it's a show that is just not getting a lot of positive word of mouth from the other people I do shows with, then that I'm having to travel to, I'm not going to bother.
And Joshua, you're right. This does absolutely suck. And it doesn't suck because we're not just making money. A lot of us creators miss interacting with the people. I know Brian loves to interact with people. Luke loves to interact with people. Dan loves to interact with people. Jonathan and Preston, we all miss your energy. We miss interacting with you the most. And we have a new fan joining us with Brian. Brian, how do you pick a show?
I pick a show by who will pay for my table. That's how I do it nowadays. But for me, like Dragon Con is a huge experience there because it's 4 days of cosplay of celebrities and just a massive amount of people in Atlanta. So that's a big one that I really enjoy being a part of. But like as a fan, I'd rather go to Heroes Con every time. I'm an East Coast guy, and Heroes Con is where you can. It's nothing but comic book creators, and that has a special place in my heart since about 1990.
All right, Dan, how do you pick your show? And she's cute, by the way, Brian. So adorable. Makes me miss Jax when Jax was that little, as he's yelling in the background. Dan, how do you pick a show?
Two factors. One, cost. I can only afford so much for a table, so I'd like to get the best deal possible for the table. So I end up doing some local shows, and I save a little bit more for a bigger show like Baltimore. And also, because I don't drive, I have to also consider travel. And so I usually go up and down the East Coast via Amtrak, so that's another additional cost plus cab between train station and hotel and whatnot. So it's all these mitigating factors that I have to factor in, figure out which conventions to go to.
And we're going to go live to Jonathan. Jonathan, what are your thoughts on this? That's interesting, Jonathan.
Hey, sorry about that. Did you guys ask a question? I had someone at my door.
I said, how do you pick your con? Like how do you pick what show you're going to? Are you going to sign up for Ancient City after last year? Are you going to go to Does SuperCon let you in, or are they just sticking to no Florida creators because they brought everyone else here? How do you pick a show?
It all depends on how convenient it is for me to get to. That's the main thing. What's my schedule like? How much traveling am I going to have to do? Am I going to if it's like a multi-day show, am I going to have to rent a room at the hotel or a hotel nearby? And then I have to weigh that cost versus how much I think I could sell in one day. So, as much as I would love to do more shows outside of Central Florida and outside of Florida in general, it's just not within my budget to do. Versus unless they're going to pay me to be there. Unfortunately, that's not happening anytime soon, to be honest. So,
Phil, and then we're going to go to Luke because I do want to end this with Luke just because I am curious. Phil, what for you, because you're brand new, are you looking at just hyper local, or are you looking for things maybe you could table with a friend to cut costs? For those who don't know, a lot of times earlier, I still do it. I split tables with people. It just lowers your cost. And if you do it with the right people, and we're going to talk about this, you can tag in and out. You can do that with your neighbors as well. But Phil, what are you looking for?
I think, like Daniel said earlier, travel is a very big component. There's kind of a function of how big is the con going to be and how far away is it. If it's potential for big revenue, big sales, then I'm willing to travel for 3 hours to DC to go to a con, versus if it's a small local con, I'm willing to drive maybe 45 minutes. To answer your first question, I had been, before all of the craziness happened and canceled all of these cons, I had been planning to share a table with a friend and fellow creator. Definitely think it would be helpful to have someone to build off of and help sell with, and kind of bounce each other's energy off of, especially when you're selling very different books and give like different products that you could talk about in tandem with one another.
Very, very cool. And we're going to go to Luke. And one of the reasons I'm going to go to Luke last is, Luke, you had a good experience at Ancient City Comic Con last year. You're one of the few people, honestly. Yeah. But you read the room. You saw how upset everyone else was at it. Is that a show that's on your radar for this year, assuming that we restart quickly? And we are going to try to touch on what we think is about to happen. Yeah. I'm trying, and I do want to get to your comments, Pete. We're going to break to do comments in a minute, and then we'll get back to more topic-driven comments. But I want to address our audience because I want them to know, honestly, how important they are. But Luke, is Ancient City back on the docket potentially? And how do you?
100% for me that it's back on the docket, and there's a few reasons. Because here's the thing about Ancient City Con. It's going to be one of the few cons that are probably going to be able to host this year, if they get to host at all, because they're so late in the year, which means the fans are going to want to go to it. It's probably going to be pretty busy. I did have a good experience at Ancient City, but I tend to have here's my approach, Rob. I know you didn't have a good experience, but I sold out. I sold probably 150 units over the course of those 3 days. Okay, so I sold quite a bit of comics, and the reason why is because I didn't get down. I saw the room was down, but I was like, I tried to make the best I could with each individual that I had an opportunity to connect with. I'm a salesman. That's what I used to do that for a living. And so I would move and I would identify who was a potential customer and who wasn't. And so, yeah, Ancient City Con is definitely on my radar for this year. But to get to the point of how I choose a convention to go to, there's 3 factors that I use. And some of you might know, some of you have already said it, the distance and the cost. But I also look at, I consider distance as part of my cost. What's the cost to me to do it? What's my potential cost? Like, what's my potential income? How well has it been promoted? Is it a crowd that I think I can connect with? Is there, is the artist alley or where my table would be? Is it going to be positioned in a place where I have the ability to connect with people on a regular basis throughout the day? And then the third thing that I look at is how many other creators are going to be there, and am I going to have the opportunity to connect and network? Because not every convention for me is about making money. Some of those, it's worth the cost for me to meet other people like you guys and to be able to build those relationships and those networks. And so those are the 3 things that I look at. And I can only, because of my job, I can only really hit 4 full weekends a year in any kind of convention. So I really like to stick to something that's close and local and something where I can maybe run into the fans later on. I think it is one of the things that I do.
Meredith, as part of you go around. We met at a show. How do you pick the shows? Do you doing press passes, the ones who allow you access, or is it I have to go to this show because this is where the people are going to be? Talk us through it. How does GeekInsider decide what shows to go to?
Well, for GeekInsider, basically what happened was I'm a fairly new Florida resident. I've been here for 5 years. So I didn't really know the scene at all. And I got a message from Matthew and Rhett and said, how far away are you from the Space Coast? And I was like, about 3 hours. Why? And they said, well, I want to represent GeekInsider at Space Coast Comic Con. And I was just like, okay. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. So we've been, we've got people in the Northeast. You've got me down in Florida. We've got a few people in Texas. Nobody yet out on the West Coast. And so what we're trying to do is, as we have local conventions that are near us that we can go to physically, we're applying for press passes. If we can't get them and they're really super cool, then we're like, okay, well, we're gonna buy ourselves in and try and get these quick interviews. So when I was there, that's what I did with you. We had a quickie interview, and and that kind of went into connecting on social media and doing all of these other shows. So it became really an organic way of networking, and that's what we've been doing. Is that if it's close to us, unfortunately, a lot of these things have been canceled. I was supposed to go to TFCon. MegaCon, I don't know. Disney closed until May. So is MegaCon going to happen in June? Yes. I don't know.
Yes.
So, I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I need to get out of the house. Don't talk that way, Meredith. That's my escape plan.
I'm hoping. I've got my press pass for MegaCon, and I really want to be there. But we don't know. So that's the way we're doing it. Is if it's close to us and we can get there, great. If we get press passes, great. If not, we're going to do our best to budget it in and be there and really kind of network and find more people.
I haven't given out a free hug and stint in weeks.
I know.
I'm jonesing. I have to get back out there. See, I gotta get back out there. Let's do some comments. Meredith, I'm going to swing you out to bring in another creator so we can do some comments.
Yep.
So I'm bringing Dan back in, and here we go. We're going to go through some comments. You guys want to make a comment? The floor is open. We're going to start with Phil Locker says, compliancy and robotic pitches can kill a con experience quicker than anything. I know a guy who has a very robotic pitch, and Luke, I think you've heard us joke about this with the creator, but he does a great job with it. I don't know. I think as long as it can be robotic if it's passionate. I think what it has to do is you have to, when you're talking, it has to sound like you mean what you say. You can't be stumbling on your pitch. What do you guys think? Preston, do you want to start this one? Because again, I can't see you raising your hand.
Well, going back to, I think you said something very important. You have to mean what you say, which is why earlier when we were talking about mood and energy, like if I'm feeling down, I'm not going to try and project up, because I think you're already starting off on like a level of cognitive dissonance, which is going to screw things up. You know, if I'm down, if it's been a bad show, if I'm tired, then I'm going to be more subdued, you know, and then, you know, that's fine. I think you have to be where you are and not worry about where you're not. So yeah, sincerity is, I think, the most important thing. And once you can fake that, you've got everything else made.
All right. Anyone else want to jump in on that one? Brian, what do you think? Robotic pitches, are they going to kill the con experience? Because you're far from robotic.
Yeah. I don't have a robotic pitch, simply because I want everything to be organic. So if I'm interacting with somebody, I want them to get, well, honestly, to be 100% honest, I haven't had a product to pitch with a robot. Like I've never had anything except for, hey, I draw pictures. So I've just now created my first IP, and I haven't had I haven't had a chance to try to pitch it to anybody because I haven't been at a live show with people there.
Brian, there's no time like today. Give it to us. Hit us up.
I don't even have a pitch, man. All I know is, all right, World War III has happened, and the United States is broken in half, and in the midst of the dead half of the United States, there's a giant mutated turtle named Loggerhead, and people treat him as if he is he's mythical. Everybody claims to have seen him, but nobody can prove he exists. So he's kind of like a Sasquatch or a Chupacabra. Like, is Loggerhead real?
Take my money. Take my money now. More about Loggerhead. No. What do you think, Luke Stone? And I'm picking on you because you're drinking, because I'm that guy. Yes, the minute someone's not at their chair or they drink, they're the first person I call on. Luke, talk to me. How important is the pitch? Is a robotic pitch the end of that pitch?
Yeah, I think so. I think that once you get into the you know, if you're real complacent, energy has a lot to do with it. If you're not passionate about your work, then no one else is going to be. And I've heard it said, "Oh, my work speaks for itself." Well, I speak for my work. I have no problems doing that, because people will come by and look at the pictures, and you know, they might like those. But it takes a minute to read the story, and the only way they're going to get to know the story is if I pitch it to them. And so anyone that just like has like that kind of like robotic and stale, kind of complacent attitude about their pitch, they're probably not going to do very good.
I think that I have a unique experience with pitching because I grew up as a wrestling fan. What about you, Dan? How do you get away from sounding robotic? Because I mean, we do this pitch at a given show, and I'll give a little tip while Dan's unmuting. Go ahead, Dan, unmute. I change up my pitches so I don't drive myself crazy. So I have several pitches ready to go at all times for every book. And that sometimes hurts me because I'll screw myself up and mix the pitches, but the person never knows. But I hear it. I'm mad at myself. But Dan, how do we stay away from being Mr. Roboto at our table?
I mean, you can rehearse it all you want, but you have to keep up the energy levels. And as you said, you have to vary it up a bit. And I've been times where I had the pitched down cold, I've had the energy, but I trip over my own words. So even that can happen. So hope for the best, expect things can happen.
So Phil, are you standing in front of the mirror pitching? Are you looking at your own face? Have you taken that advice where you're trying to get that pitch in your dreams? Because I do this awful thing on my panels where, and anyone who's been on my panel knows this, I point to them and go, your pitch, randomly throughout whenever we're talking about creating comics. And it's better when they're new and they don't know what's coming. Once they've been on a panel a couple of times, it's not as much fun because they know it. But are you ready for that, Phil? Are you ready for anyone to just show up? I mean, I've sold a comic book while changing a dirty, poopy diaper. That is the skill level I am at, Phil. Are you ready to be there?
I don't think I've leveled up to that level yet. I say I'm super comfortable typing it now, since I've typed my pitch probably 1,000 times at this point. But definitely agree. Energy level has to be high. You need to have variations so that you don't sound bored with your own pitch. I mean, I have maybe 16 different notes with different ways to pitch my comic. And, I have a favorite that I try to default to, but even I get sick of that sometimes. So definitely try to vary it, try to cater to the person you're talking to. And I'll start changing diapers. I'll steal some kid and change some diapers when I pitch so I can get to your level, Dan. Rob.
I feel we're kind of not addressing what I feel is the main issue when you're kind of attempting to engage people at conventions, and that's, when do you start pitching? I mean, because to me, it's not if someone's walking in front of my table, I don't go, hey, do you want to hear my comic about the deadliest female fighter pilot who ever lived? Like, that's how you fall into a robotic pattern, is that I think, you're just there and you're hoping an interaction springs forth. So you just kind of start, and that's not how I do it. And I think if the pitch is something that is like the third or fourth element of your social interaction instead of the first, I think it's going to be a lot better and convert higher, and quite frankly will leave everybody less frustrated, because it's frustrating to sit there and try and engage people who don't want to be engaged.
All right, so Preston, what's the giveaway for you? Because I'm big on the reading. You're talking about reading the audience, and I completely believe in that. So what's the key for you? For me, it's eye contact. When someone makes eye contact with me, clearly they're trying to engage.
Yes, I mean that's absolutely a help. I mean, another one is like, look, I've done so many conventions. I really just come down to, I just look at somebody and I go, I make comic books, and for whatever reason, like, that line will stop a lot of people. Like that, they'll sit there and they'll process it, and then they'll stop and they'll look at me and go, "Did you say you make them?" I'm like, "Yeah, I make them. This is my 2 titles. I got White Lily and I got Guinevere. This one's a war story, and the other one's about a sexy lady who can do magic. I mean, do either of those interest you?" And like, if they're starting to give me buy-in, like I'm showing them art or whatever, just pointing to it. But my attitude up to this point is, you can just keep walking. That's fine. I'm just going to sit here behind my table. But if those interest you, I can tell you about them. And if they go, yeah, I want to hear, and once they go, I want to hear about blank, then they've given me their permission and attention to present the material. But if they haven't kind of consented to be pitched to, I don't engage them in that way. I instead and look, I've sold a fair amount of comics, because Guinevere and the Divinity Factory, I wrote, there's a kind of fetish room in issue 1. It's kind of this Gatsby-esque take on the Harry Potter wizard school, but instead it's like the Gatsby mansion where there's just this big party, and I have like a fetish room in it. And there's a fair amount of people who have like fetish gear or collars, or like rubber latex dresses, whatnot, or they're walking along the con. And if I see one of those people, their back could be turned to me, and I'll be like, wait, I got you, I so got you right here. And they'll turn to me like, what? I'm like, check it out. And I'm like, this story right here. And like, once they look at me, and they will look at me like, why did you single me out? And but like, once I get to boom, and there's this room where people are getting a little freaky, and I'll go, this was a big hit in Portland, Oregon. I don't know what's going on up there. Like, they're engaged, and they'll smile, and then they'll look, and they'll go, okay. And a lot of times, like, so many people will sit there and buy after I've gone, this is for you, because I understand, like, well, that symbol that you're wearing means this. And that is just like this thing in my content. And, you put these things together, and people will get engaged. But you have to have some kind of personal connection or something. And if you don't, and they're just walking, I make comic books. That's just what I say. And a lot of people will say, no, thank you. I'm like, I still make comic books regardless of whether you're interested or not, so, but,
Preston, bringing fetish books to a convention, what do you think?
Exactly.
What do you think? Honestly, I cheat a little bit. I do cheat because I use banners. Sure. And that banner, if I can move my hand right.
Yeah, I also use banners. So
stops people in their tracks. Yeah. And I'm with you. I whenever I table with someone, I get mad at them when they call over someone who is just not interested. The people who are trying to run down your alley, or they're just following their friends, and you're like, no, you're really going to like comics. Like, I ask people flat out, do you read comics? Nope. Have a good day. Still hope for you. See you later. Bye. I'm not going to, what am I going to twist his arm? We have to put up our displays. Luke, are we wrong? Do you have to know? Because you're a preacher. And I think it's interesting that you're a preacher, because, you learn to read people, right? Like that's kind of your bag.
Yeah, it's understanding the person that you've got in front of you and knowing when you've got them on the hook and when you don't. I think that that's the biggest part of my pitch, is knowing when I've got someone. I public speak every Sunday. That's what I do, and usually it's in front of a room of people. Lately, it's in front of a webcam, but in front of a room of people, some people just don't know how to read the audience. They don't know how to look at the person they're engaging with, and the thing is even if I'm pitching to 3 or 4 people at once or one person, it doesn't matter the size of the group. It's the eye contact. It's the engaging with them individually, and it's knowing when I've got them, when I don't. There's really there's kind of 3 levels of buyers I found. There is they are cold, which means they are not ready to buy yet. They're just browsing. They're warm. That means they kind of have an idea that they might want to invest in this, and then they're hot, which means they're ready to buy. It's the shut up and take my money group. And you've got to be able to identify which one of those, at what stage the person that you're talking to is in. So understanding body language and facial expressions and knowing how to engage people, pull them into it. If you don't have them in the first few sentences with your pitch, then you're probably not going to have them. And if and like someone said earlier, I'm a package guy. I like to put together a whole bunch of stuff that is makes the value to the customer really, really high. But there's no point in doing all that if they're not even interested in the base thing. If they're not even a little bit interested in the, I think the loggerhead sounds awesome, but maybe not everyone's going to like that, right?
Shut your mouth. Everyone will like loggerhead. It will be the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I am investing heavily. When the stock comes out, I'm investing in it. But I just want to catch this. You said that you're interested in people's packages. So we'll move on really quickly to we're going to move on to the next question. How do you guys attract people? Really, I just wear a tank top and I go like this all day. I just kind of, no, actually, you're not supposed to wear a tank top. I found out at it. You have to dress professionally when you're at it. I'm in a tank top, so I live in Florida, and it's hot here. It is 90 degrees this weekend. Welcome to Florida. But displays, your displays have to speak for yourself. Guys, how important are your displays, and what do you put out on your table? I have handcuffs that have been on my table. I've had monster heads that are on my table. I put things out that stop people right away in their tracks. And I think Luke's seen people just stop at my table and smile. And I've got them. I believe in fishing as opposed to hunting. And
Rob,
I do think
you have a sign on your table that says, if 50 Shades of Grey was written by someone who understood the subject matter. And it's not my subject matter at all, but I remember that because it made me laugh. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get what this is all about now.
And you get the table, and there's sense of humor, and I'm inviting people in. Yeah. So, Dan, how are you inviting in people? Are you doing the wrestler thing? Yeah. Or you got something maybe a little more subtle, maybe a thing on your table that invites them for a conversation? Maybe it's free candy. You can't. I'm more like this, Brian. The people's eyebrow. So, Dan, how do you do it? How do you bring them over?
Well, I just try to do a really good display. I dress it like this, nice shirt over a t-shirt. My last card I did was actually in January before this whole thing happened. I had gotten a one of those it's not CBCS copies of my own comic, actually, of issue 1, and that was a nice little conversation piece. I also have prints that are nicely laid out. I have business cards that are nicely laid out. But the thing I want to use when we finally are back to doing conventions, I recently got an action figure of the main character of my book recently, and I think that's going to be a good conversation piece when all is said and done and that everything starts back up again. But
it helps if I unmute. So the action figure, are you selling it too, or is it just a prop?
It's display. It's one of a kind.
Oh, okay. So will you mass produce them at a point if it's popular enough?
Oh, no. It was part of a Kickstarter award that the Short Fuse did.
Fair enough. All right. So who else here? Preston's, I think, Preston, if you can hear me, the system's saying you're having problems connecting. Brian, let's talk about that. And then Phil, I want to know what your plans are for your table. But Brian, what do you do with the display? Does the display change? Because you're an artist. Are you trying to aim for popularity of that show?
Man, I haven't figured out the formula. When I was just a fan artist, It was like, how many pictures of Deadpool and Harley Quinn can you put up in the background to let people know that you're there? And I find myself, now that I'm creating IP and I'm writing comic books, I want to distance myself from the guy that has a banner that goes to the ceiling and has a picture of every character you've ever seen before, but he's not creating IP. I don't want to be the fan art guy anymore. So I'm trying to theme my booth to say, hey, I make stuff. You want to check me out. One thing I've noticed that works really well are breasts. So if you have like a big banner that has some boobs on there, I did that. I didn't even have a female character that I was working on, but I created a female character just so I could have a banner with some big old titties behind me, and I could try to get people to come up to me like that way. It didn't work, because once they realized that I couldn't draw females very well, they're like, oh, I don't care if your thing has big old boobs. But so I think theme is important, and I'm currently working on. I've commissioned like a 2-foot statue of Loggerhead to be created, so that I will have a nice, badass 2-foot statue of Loggerhead on my table to help engage the conversation.
So, Phil, are you going to have big boobies at your table to attract attention like Brian tried, or do you have a different strategy in mind? And I do want to say thank you to Joshua. Joshua's asked some great questions. I know he'll come back and watch this later, and I wanted to say we appreciate you taking the time with us today. And he's doing an Easter egg hunt. I wish I was with him right now. I would love to be with him. And Preston's joined us again. So go ahead, Phil, and then we'll go to Preston, and we'll let him know what question we're at.
Sure. So I think my big plan was just to go high concept. My story at its core is about a kid, a boy, but it's ghosts around him, and ghosts are very visually interesting. So, a banner that really emphasizes that element, anything I could put on the table that conveys this is a supernatural horror comic, because there's a built-in audience for that. Just before this, you had a panel about the paranormal investigators. There's definitely a market there. That's a way that I'm hoping to grab people, by going high concept, and then gradually introduce them to, this is my book, these are my characters, this is my story.
And that makes sense. And we're going to, Preston, we're just bringing you in. Thank you for sharing that, Phil. Preston, we're talking about displays and the importance of displays. We're going to let Jonathan talk, because Jonathan's been a little quiet, and then we're going to come to you. So we're talking about, what do you do to grab attention beyond pitching, bringing them over without conversation? So Jonathan, I've seen you at your shows. Talk to us about your setup and what you're doing to make people notice you.
Yeah, so I put out my product as close to the edge of the table without some stupid cosplayer knocking it over.
We love you, cosplayers. We love you.
All right, I love them too. Back to what I said before about putting that product in their hand. You got to have something that they can, the tangible part of it all, and when they can reach for it and they can see it and touch it, and it makes more sense to them, and they're more likely to want to purchase it. And to piggyback on what Brian says about the sex sells. I have a comic book with a female character, so she's on the cover, and then my other comic book, capable with I'm not trying to pander to the handicap crowd, but it does bring people to my table. They see the main character in a wheelchair, and they think about the person that they know that's handicapped, and then we start a conversation about it, and I can begin my pitch that way. So and then also you have those people that do the slow crawl by walks, where they're kind of just glancing. Just ask them, hey, are you enjoying the con? You enjoying the show? How's your weekend? And then sometimes that just starts off the conversation, and you can ease into a pitch that way.
And we are congratulating Luke Stone. It turns out Luke Stone is the door prize winner for Swamp Thing, donated by Kevin from NSC Live TV. And congratulations, Luke. See, you're finally getting somewhere. You got Swamp Thing. That's a cool little collectible item. You definitely have to say thank you to Kevin personally, and we thank Meredith, and Meredith is going to join us. Meredith, when's the next giveaway?
It would help if I got off of mute, right? We're actually getting ready to do that, and I'm going to probably kick myself off and let Matt promote that because we've got something really cool from Mobile Edge. So, is Matt in here yet?
Not yet. We'll do another question as soon as Matt gets here. I'll bring him in.
Yeah, cool.
All right. So, Preston, talk to us about your display.
Well, I have a retractable banner, which is pretty cool. I also have commissioned custom tablecloths that have the artwork and the logos and all that on it, and tablecloths I also help. So those are I wear T-shirts for the comic books, and that's about as far as I go. So that's my present, and most everything is just like I got a lot of product, so I try and fill up the table with a fair amount of product that's eye-catching that people are going to want to buy.
And man, have you seen that guy Luke's display? Oh, Luke, talk to us about your display.
I like to use a lot of color and big bright images and stuff. This is one of the displays I use. So there are ladies on there. You can see the top of it there. So it shows the logo, and it brings in kind of some attention. I think that people want to come in and they want to see art. That's the kind of thing they want to see something. So I try to bring big displays with a lot of color so that they can see it.
All right, we're going to bring in Matt now to talk to us about the next amazing giveaway.
Hey guys, pardon me. I took a long break there and my voice went out on me. What we've got here, guys, is we have a partner over at mobileedge.com. They make a lot of equipment to protect your tech, from gaming backpacks, which we will be giving one away this weekend, to laptop cases, just all kinds of cool cases that just don't look all bulky and crap. They also look sharp. But we are giving away a Core Gaming extra large mouse mat. This sucker is, if you can see it, it's 32.5 by 15 inches. It is a pro style precision gaming mouse pad. I did a review on it on the web on GeekInsider.com. There's also an unboxing on our YouTube channel you can check out after VirtualCon. I'm going to lose my train of thought again. But you got to do the same thing as for all the prizes. You got to be here to win. And so make a comment or leave a comment on our Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're listening at right now, and we will see it. And Meredith will pick a winner shortly. I'm just going to hang out in the green room here, Rob. Meredith is going to pick a winner, but we've got another guest coming up in like 10 minutes. And I don't know if you know who that is, but it's one that I am looking forward to. It is Miss Athena Finger. So everybody stay tuned for that. And guys, I've been listening over on the sideline. I like a lot of what you guys had to say on your comics. Phil, you got me, man. I'm going to have to be checking yours out. It's got everything I like, but I'm going to have to also check out some of you other guys. But I want to let you all finish up. And so, Rob, take it away.
All right. We're going to bring back in Phil. This is lightning round, so we only have 10 minutes left. I've been showing some of it. But this is an interesting one. Even if cons can open on schedule, are people going to have the money to go to these after their time of being unemployed? Look, we can't look at it that way. We are entertainers. End of day, we are entertainers. We're going to have to show up, and we're going to have to be there, and we're going to have to support our communities, and the rest is going to fall into place. That's not in our control as creators. It's a great question, and trust me, we're all asking it privately, but none of us have the right answer. We have stimulus checks coming. What are those going to look like? A lot of people have been home. That means a lot of people haven't been spending as much money. Not going out to the bar saves you money. Not going out to the movies saves you money. Maybe people will have money. We just don't know yet. It's too early to say that. But it is a great question. I did want to actually say that. And we got a comment that says, gee, you had a giant mutated turtle. You had me at a giant mutated turtle. Right? Like, I'm like, this dude. And if you haven't seen it, if you have a picture, Brian, on your way out, you have to show it. It's amazing. And Joshua says, Mervis says, if I take 20 minutes of your time, I will buy something for sure. And that's awesome. I like people who buy something just to buy it. You know what I mean? Like they've spent time with you and they're I will buy something from you. We also have, I want to get everything in here. Here we go. Haha, that's great. Books by Bond. Preston, were you at Wizard World Austin last year?
Yes.
Yes, Preston was there. I think you might have met Matthew Harris then. Hopefully a fan of yours. So it's good to connect. And it's always nice to see. Isn't it cool to meet people from a show on social media? Isn't it like one of the best moments when they connect?
Wizard World Austin was weird. It was one of the only shows where I sold a book walking to the show.
Cool.
Yeah, that was weird. Because Austin has a bit of a problem with homelessness, and I parked where the parking was cheap, and so I'm walking to the show, and I just had a pile of books to read in my hand because I figured the show was going to be kind of slow, which it kind of was. But I'm walking by this gaggle of homeless people who are kind of sitting propped over against the wall, and this one guy says, "Hey, is that Harley Quinn there in that book?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Cool, guys, see that?" I'm like, "Sure." I show it to him, and he ends up buying the damn thing. So I'm like, "All right, well, fair enough." So Wizard World Austin will always have that distinction for me, and it was also where I got my my very first start, my very first con as a comic creator was Wizard World Austin back in like 2017. So fun memories.
Very cool. Now, since you're on the hot mic, let's start with you. Say your goodbyes. Believe it or not, our time is just about over, but I want to give you guys a minute each to just tell us where they can find you. So, Preston, tell them where to become a fan of you if they haven't already on this show.
Well, I'm over on YouTube at Pocket Jacks Comics. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm about to launch an Indiegogo, and I'm also about to launch a Kickstarter. So I use both platforms, and I cycle my campaigns really quick. So I just had a Kickstarter finish like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm about to launch another one in 2 weeks. So I specialize in just rapid fulfillment because I want to get a product in people's hands and then go, now that you've seen that, wait till you see the next thing. So I'm always kind of churning campaigns.
And Dan, tell us where we can find you and how we can continue our fandom of you.
You can find me on Facebook at Daniel Calvin. You can also follow American Dreams on Facebook at American Dreams Comic. You can find me on Twitter at Daniel Calvin and on Instagram as DCalvin.
Phil, how can we watch your upcoming journey into comics and begin to become a fan of you as you enter?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Haunting Comic. Again, we're live on Kickstarter right now, so if you're interested, go check us out there. Thanks a lot to Geek Insider for having me here.
And welcome to Making Comics. You've already done something everyone talks about, few do. So welcome to the alumni of Real Comic Book Creators, which is also introducing this year. Brian has stepped up and is now an IP holder. Look at that amazingness.
Yeah, so just any search engine, whether it's social media or on Google, just type in Brian, Bryan, and type in the last name Silverbacks, Silver, BAX, and y'all can find me and check all the cool stuff that I'm doing. And I also have a Facebook group called Silverbacks HQ, where we grow as creative individuals.
And Luke Stone, how can they follow you?
Yeah, you can find me at LukeStoneStudios.com or find me on Twitter at LukeStoneStudio, or you can find me at Luke Stone Studios on Facebook. We've got the Kickstarter going right now for issues 1 through 5 of Hybrids, the Sons of Gods. We do have just right around 8 days left on that campaign, but we have some special tiers that this is going to be in the last 24 hours, or it's going to be no longer available, and that's called the Hard Times Value Bundle. And so you can get all the books for a very reasonable price with very low shipping. So that's only going to be available until tomorrow at like 5 p.m. So make sure to look me up at LukeStoneStudios.com or find me on Twitter or Facebook, or you can also Google Luke Stone Studios and find me there too. Find that Kickstarter link and back that thing. Thank you.
And there's definitely that cool Kickstarter video with a great voice actor.
A great voice in there.
Hi, everybody. I am Mr. Anderson, the wrestling crowd will get that joke. I am the underground indie advocating devil, and I create books about fetish monsters and more. I invite you to come follow me at theindiedevil.com or mranderson.com. But more importantly, check out indieadvocates.com. It is the global digital Comic Con. It actually supports indie creators. And coming this year, we're now building the Underground Comics Advocate. It is basically the indie advocate for underground comics because underground comics don't get as much love. We make books about fetish that aren't understood, so we have to be labeled as underground. But you know what? Underground is where it's at. We're still indie creators. We just are in a different, more, not caring society of just creating great books for you guys to read. They aren't always capes and tights, but they're amazing and they're interesting. We're going to get out of everyone's way, but I do want to thank everyone who spent the day with me on this panel. You are all awesome. You all creating comics, and you're all entertaining the people stuck at home. And one day they're going to let us out of our boxes again, and we will go to rule the cons. I appreciate everyone tuning in today. Thank you for spending the day with me. You are all awesome. Keep creating comics, and we're going to get out of the way because there's a huge, amazing guest coming up next, a friend of mine who I get to see all the time. So I might just stay in the background, being quiet, just watching. So I'm going to get out of your hair. Matthew, take it away.
Thanks so much, Rob. Hey, gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. I enjoyed the segment here, and I am bringing on Miss Athena Finger. And hello, Miss Finger.
Hi.
Meredith, I believe, is going to be joining us. Rob's kind of hanging in the background for now, and I'm serious here, ma'am. This is an honor. I can't begin to tell you how much of a fan I am of your grandfather's.
Thank you.
I knew the story long before Batman and Bill. I cheered when you guys won the lawsuit, and every time I see it come up, when his name is on the big screen, it reminds me of my Star Wars moment. When you hear that music of Star Wars, I get that proud feeling for you guys. And for our audience that doesn't know, shame on them. They should take their geek badge away. But those that don't know who Bill Finger is, explain who he is and how you are related to him, please.
Sure. Bill Finger was uncredited for 76 years as being the co-creator of Batman. We won a case against DC Warner Brothers back in 2015 to get his name attached to the byline for Batman, finally. Yay! So unfortunately, back in the day, a lot of these collaborators didn't get credit. So Bob Kane went to DC, which was National Comics back in the day, and signed a contract saying that he was the only person that was doing Batman and came up with the character. And so that's the only name that we saw for so long. And Bill was really in the background. He was the writer, but he was visionary. He is the one that actually came up with the look. Bob Kane's original concept doesn't look like the Batman that we have. Bob Kane's original concept, he was in a bright red unitard with little black panties and a domino mask and little blonde wispy hair and big stiff wings behind him, and he was swinging from a rope. Well, that's not really bat-like. So when he collaborated with my grandfather, which they had already been working together on some of Bob Kane's other strips that he had, he played with the word bat, said that he needed to be darker, he needed to have something that kind of represented the bat, so he recommended the cowl with the ears, and instead of the big stiff wings, he came up with the cape with the scallops, so that when he was leaping, it would kind of flare up behind him, kind of giving the impression of wings. He came up with the backstory for Batman. He came up with Gotham City and Gordon and so many of the villains that we love. Penguin, Riddler, he collaborated with the Joker. He wrote the first Joker story. Clayface, Mad Hatter, Catwoman. He came up with Robin because it was really hard for him to do all this writing for Batman, and he didn't have anyone to talk to. In the 30s and the 40s, if you were talking to yourself, you were crazy. So they didn't have all this inner dialogue. So he needed someone to talk to. So Robin came into the picture. And so a lot of what we know about Batman came from Bill. And he wasn't credited, and he was kind of unknown for a long time. But, we changed all of that.
Yes, we did. Now, which movie was it where Bill Finger's name first appears? Which one is it?
That was in Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, but I just didn't want to misspeak.
And his name will be attached to every other one. He even got credit in Birds of Prey, in that long list of people that they gave credit to. The Joker, they gave credit to all three: Bob Kane, Bill Finger, and Jerry Robinson, which was really nice because Jerry Robinson was super important back in the day. Yes, he was the original ghost artist for Bob Kane. A lot of people don't know that Bob Kane only worked on the comic for a very short time. And he wasn't very talented with his artwork. Jerry would say that he had to correct a lot of what Bob Kane did to make it look good, make it flow better, just fix the art in general. So Jerry was very important for the first couple of years. So it was really nice to see his name attached in the credit also for that movie. So yeah.
And you brought up the point right at the beginning about how many of the creators back in the day had they signed away their work, or they signed away the rights to their work. And so many had to go through lawsuits to even get back a piece of it. But few, or arguably, if any, are as important to the entire genre as Bill Finger. I mean, you laid it all out for the audience on how important he was to the Batman mythos. And when I say I'm a fan, there's the Joker right there.
Nice. That's a nice piece.
My wife drew it, and then I had an artist nearby that inked it up for me. But I'm a huge Batman fan, but Bill, he gave us the whole look of Batman. He gave us the whole foundation for this, almost 100 years now of Batman. And I've been a fan, not almost 100 years, but about half that time.
You look very young for 100.
Right? Pretty bad for 25, right? That's what but now I'm going to totally butcher it. What year did Bill die in?
He died in 74.
In 74. And so that was before, Michael Keaton as Batman, before really the money really started rolling in for the franchise, because they're in the late 80s, early 90s, comic books were seeing a lot of money.
Well, they were, because Hollywood jumped in and started really making a ton of films in the 90s. I mean, they weren't the greatest films, but I mean, I think they needed new material. They were kind of running out of ideas, so they turned to the comic book to get some fresh, new eyes. Also, I mean, the comic book industry in the 80s suffered, and even in the 90s they suffered. So I think that was a way to kind of bring the population back into that medium, also start reading the stories again that they're seeing on the big screen, and find out where these characters are coming from.
Exactly. I mean, I got back into comics, excuse me, in the 90s when they broke Batman's back and they killed off Superman in the same week. And I had
what a rough week.
Yeah, it was a horrible week for DC, but a neighbor kid of mine was having a birthday, and he was right at that age. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go buy a comic book shop. And so, of course, I had to pick up one each for myself. Suffering from OCD, I ended up going back 15 years of Batman books in not too long of time at all, and owned them. Scouring the shows, going to the sidewalk sales at the shops in Fort Worth. Every weekend back then, you could find some shop that had the quarter box, and you spend 3 hours going through it just to find that one that you're missing for your collection. And that's Batman has just always been a huge part of my life, especially the later half. And I've got a trophy case that is full of Batman statues. There's somewhere over there behind me.
Stuff.
Joker and Harley Quinn.
Oh, I see him.
But when an artist doesn't get their due, it's a shame. But when a writer doesn't get their due, it's Well, I don't want to say it's more because it's not, but when you have someone that is a part of both, that they're doing the storylines, the backstories. Jim Gordon. I mean, besides Batman, who is more important in Gotham than Jim Gordon?
That's true. It's true. I agree. Unfortunately, it's the way that the industry was run in the early years, where Siegel and Schuster were unusual, where they had both of their names attached to it. Usually you saw one person's name, and it was usually the artist and not the writer. And that was just the way it was done. So unfortunately, that's the way they conducted business. But, over the years, the fans have been curious about where these characters came from, which is the most important thing. Is where did all of this culture come from, and these characters that we love. So I think with the fans demanding that these people get the recognition has really made the industry change their policies on that, and really make sure that people do get recognized for their creations, for their contributions to these storylines, even if they didn't start with it. So I mean, I think they've really molded the industry to change their policies, which is great.
Yeah, I agree. And it was, a little late on the upkeep there.
Better late than never, though. That's the thing, is like when we won our case, I felt that it was super important that the history was corrected, especially for a character like Batman. I mean, Batman's huge. I mean, he's one of the top icons that we have in the world, not even just in American culture, but in the world culture. Definitely. So for people to not know the real history behind the character for so long was an injustice to the fans. So that's, that was my ultimate goal, was to make sure that the true story of Batman and his history was corrected.
Definitely. And folks, if you haven't seen it, I believe it's still on Netflix. Batman and Bill are on Hulu One.
It's on Hulu, yes. It's a Hulu exclusive.
That's it.
Yep. So you can, if you don't have Hulu, you can always get the free trial for a week, and you can watch it and say bye to Hulu if you don't want it. But it is out there. I think there's some bootleg copies going around too, if you don't want to go that route. So it's really good, though. The company that did the documentary, they do fabulous work. They also have done other documentaries that have been, recognized in a lot of the awards and all the festivals and things like that. So it's really good. It's heart touching. It's as a fan, you have a sense of victory at the end. Also, even though it wasn't your family, you just feel like a part of it.
Right.
So it's really good if you haven't seen it.
And how long was the court battle?
Well, see, that's tricky. My father, when he was still alive, he would try to get Bill's name attached to the Batman title. And that was hard. He got nowhere with them, and then he passed away in '92. So it kind of fell on me. But when he passed away, I was not even 16 yet, so I couldn't really do anything. I was kind of discouraged from pursuing it because my father had such a hard time with it. So, I mean, it really started, I want to say in the early 80s, went through a few years there, and then I picked it back up in 2011, 12, and in that area. I was hesitant to pursue anything just because of what I've been told for so long, that it would never happen and things like that. It was Mark Tyler Nobleman who wrote Bill's biography, and the documentary is focused around a lot, really pushed me and said, you really need to do this. And then once I started exploring what needed to be done, I realized I only had so much time left to even fight this battle. So, with the 75th anniversary and things like that, I knew that I only had a few years left to even pursue this. So I kind of pushed towards the end there. And luckily, my sister is an attorney and was able to get the right. Yeah, it just, you know, a lot of things fell into the proper place for me to get this resolved. So I'm very fortunate in that matter, and that it didn't take a decade for me personally to fight this. It was a matter of a few years, but that doesn't mean it wasn't easy. It took a lot of people, and it took a lot of negotiation, and, you know, we came to a resolution that, you know, that we could live with.
That's so important. You know, one, getting it resolved, getting his name on there, but one that the family could at least feel comfortable with. And we had a question from Books by Bond. They want to know, who is your favorite Batman?
That is the most asked question. As far as live action, Michael Keaton's always been my favorite. You know, that he just did an amazing job, because he did, you know, a great job with both characters,
exactly,
Batman and Bruce Wayne. So, and that's not easy to do.
No, I don't think anyone has done it justice since.
No, I don't think so either. I think the only one that really came close, and people aren't going to like this, but I think Ben Affleck also did an amazing job being able to portray both, as an older Batman and an older Bruce Wayne, who was kind of conflicted about where he wanted to go with his life, and how he, you know, really had to struggle with having these two people within the one.
Right.
So,
well, I've been an advocate here lately. I am the firm believer that Michael Keaton should come back, and he should be in a live action The Dark Knight Returns. The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's.
Okay.
And just going that dark, gritty, and, you know, doing the one shot of him back as Batman, because he's of the age now,
right?
And I think he could still pull it off. But
you know what story I would like to see someone attempt is the Kingdom Come story.
Yeah, that would be great.
That would be epic.
It would. And, you know, who knows now, with us getting this sort of Elseworlds kind of feel going with Joker, which I immensely enjoyed. I have seen it too many times already. I saw it twice at the theater, because I just liked the unique take on it, but I also like seeing the development of that character, but also knowing, you know, that this is just a version of Joker. And I'm really hoping that we see more of that kind of thing from DC, not so much the mainstream PG stuff that is out to, you know, group the Justice League together, but ones that they come at as the angle of, okay, this is going to be a standalone story. And then, you know, look what happened with Joker. They said they weren't planning on doing any sequels, and now we're going to get sequels. And there's just so many good storylines that are already in the bucket, you know, from almost 100 years of Batman stories. And so there's no reason to try to reinvent the wheel, especially one thing that'll piss me off is when they get somebody that doesn't know the Batman character. And when you put a gun in Batman's hand, yes, it goes back into the 40s. I know Batman used to carry a gun, but that's not the redefined Batman. You know, Batman has a complete aversion to guns, and that's what sets him apart from the villains to me, is he doesn't have to have a gun. But, you know, when you got cannons on the Batmobile, I'm kind of like, you're stretching my willingness to.
I mean, I know it's such a hot topic with the guns and Batman. I mean, it's part of our culture. We're a gun culture. So, I mean, it makes sense for him to have those kind of weapons, especially, you know, if he has the means to have, you know, Lucius Fox making all these cool gadgets for him behind the scenes. I mean,
now, did he have
with what our society is like now? I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just don't think he needs to be gun crazy. It's a tool. It's part of his toolbox. So, I mean, I know a lot of people are like, no, you can't have them. No. But again, if you want to keep them relevant and current, that kind of goes with our society and the way it is now.
And I guess there's, you know, going to be times when you're going to just need to pull that bat pistol.
I mean, it's not going to be his first tool that he pulls out, but I mean, when things
Now, he
get
didn't.
rough. It's nice to
Now,
have
correct me if I'm wrong, though. He didn't have a gun in the beginning. He got that later on, correct? Or did he have one?
No, I believe he always had guns because that's what they had. I mean, he was fighting gangsters. Think of what it was going on in 1939 and 1940. I mean,
Right.
and they were all shooting each other. I mean, that's.
Well, I know the old serial that he had a gun. I just wasn't sure if back in the comics that he did. But
so
here's a great question from IndieCon. Did Bill have any other original works or characters?
Oh yes, he did. So right after Batman, he collaborated and co-created the Green Lantern, and also Wildcat. So he wrote for many other titles. He wrote for Superman. He wrote the first Kryptonite story. He wrote for World's Finest, and he wrote for Timely, which is now Marvel. A lot of their collaboration stories of characters. So I mean, he was all over the place, getting the work where he could. I mean, he was a struggling artist that needed money, so he took the work where he could. But I mean, he didn't just write for comics. I mean, he was one of the first comic book writers who jumped from the medium and started writing for TV and radio. And he wrote a couple of sci-fi movies in the 60s. So I mean, he really did the full spectrum for his medium.
Man, and such a great industry to be in at the time, as far as having that venue, you know, to be able to have that venue to put out the various types of work, because he did span a wide spectrum there. You know, he wasn't just pigeonholed into comic books, and he wasn't pigeonholed into just one type of genre. And
no, it's true. You know, I think his friend Charles Sinclair had a lot to do with that, because he collaborated a lot with Charles. Charles Sinclair is the one that he co-created the Batman episode, The Clock King, with. He did the screenplay for The Green Slime and for Track of the Moon Beast and various other things. So I think the people that he surrounded himself with after he got away from Bob Kane is what really helped him branch out into these other aspects of the writing medium.
And Heroinberg wants to know, did you know that, speaking of changes, did you know that the newest version of Bruce Wayne is Chinese? Gotham High young adult novel.
No, I had no idea, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, there's so many different Batman variations now that are out there and have been out there. So,
right. It's like we were talking about the Elseworlds, and you know, some of the what I do like is that they're making a lot of those into the animated movies now, and I don't like that they're all $20 a pop, but. But David King had a question. Would either one of us like to see a live action Batman Beyond? Now, are you familiar with it? Yes.
Batman Beyond is awesome. You know, when I was watching the animated series back in the 90s, and they started advertising for this Batman Beyond character. Now, I never read comics. I wasn't a big comic book reader. I was in art school. I was always creating my own art. So I wasn't really big on to like reading comics. I was busy doing other things. So when I saw them advertising, I'm like, what is this? This is weird and different. And then I started watching, I'm like, this is awesome.
I almost had the exact same reaction. What are they doing to my Batman? And then I heard Kevin was involved as Bruce. And I'm like, all right, wait a minute now. And then I watched the pilot episode, and then the next one, and then the next one.
Yeah, I was hooked. This is awesome. This is an awesome take on like how to pass that torch on to somebody else, a little futuristic, a little, you know, totally different. I loved it.
Yep, and I would love to see a live action. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to see that. Again, Michael Keaton coming back is
exactly. That'd be great, because I could see him hobbling around on a cane, you know.
Oh, yeah.
He might not like that too much, you know, since he's the Vulture now.
Fair.
And, you know, and these
throw himself into it.
And these days, there's nothing keeping these actors for one studio or the other. You know, you see one on Marvel, you see him play another character for DC or Warner Brothers, and so there's nothing saying Keaton can't come over and be Batman again. So you hear us, DC?
I know.
The heiress to the throne of the Batman, the Batcave said, We need it.
There's been a lot of talk. A lot of people over there have said that they'd like to see him do that. But I mean, you never know. I guess it takes the right director and script and all of that stuff to come in and appeal him to come back and play the character again.
Right.
So.
Now, aside from grandfather's legacy, tell the audience what it is you do. You said you went to art school.
I did. I went to art school in high school for a little while, and then I was steered off of that path. I was going to go to art school for college, but I ended up doing life skills instead. I graduated from high school and decided to get a job and do some other things before I invest all that money into something that I didn't know if I was really going to be able to utilize whatever degree. So
I got you.
Advice. College is expensive.
Well, it's like that commercial where, you know, the people are acting, they say you become your parents, and the waitress says she's going to art school, and the lady goes, so have you thought about how you're going to make money? It's like, oh, geez. And my wife is an art major and an artist, and so she's heard it all. But so I was curious if you'd stayed into art. Do you still like to draw or?
Well, I do. I got back into painting a couple years ago. So I have, you can see I have a Star Wars piece that I did behind me.
Oh.
So I have gotten back into it. I mean, I've always been creating. I mean, even if I was doing other things. I mean, I went back to college and got my degree in math so I could teach. I mean, I was like practical and said, okay, well, I'll teach then. At least I'll have like time off and be able to do something that I enjoy. Because I enjoy teaching also. I mean, it's my other passion. So, but like I said, I got back into serious painting a couple years ago, and I've been doing that on and off. People have asked me to do some commission work, and I do my own stuff and try to fit it in with, you know, everything else. I mean, I have nothing but time right now. So.
Right. Well, so is there any place, you know, any website or anything that you want to push?
You can always find me. I do have my own website. Just put my name in, athenafinger.com, or you can find me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and you can just send me a message and we can talk about what you're looking for. So I've done a lot of the Golden Age covers. I've done some interesting original stuff. I just finished a Rocky and Bullwinkle piece that people are like, because it's not a cartoon Rocky and Bullwinkle. It's an actual real moose and a flying squirrel.
Okay. All right.
But it's a play on it. And then you see a shadow of Boris and Natasha hidden behind a tree. So, I mean, it kind of like hints to, because I love Rocky and Bullwinkle. I mean, I grew up on that stuff. So, you know, I try to do a little bit of everything. I've done some fine art. I've done comic art. I've done everything in between.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, like I said, Athena, when we first got this going on, Meredith came to me and she said, or no, it was before this was going on. She told me that she had been to a con and I met someone with Batman's granddaughter. And I said, who? And she goes, hang on, let me look. And I said, if you say something finger, I'm going to die. And she goes, yeah, Athena Finger. And I was like, oh my God, Meredith, are you kidding me? But yeah, because like I said, I knew about Bill many years ago, and as soon as I was going through Hulu and I saw Batman and Bill, I knew what it was about, but without having heard anything about it. And so I watched it, and of course I watched it when it had been a while now, because it was when it first came out. So it's time to refresh myself and watch it again, because it is such a great story. And like we said earlier, folks, if you haven't seen Batman and Bill, it is the story of Bill Finger, Athena's grandfather. He was the brains behind the Batman we know. I mean, we've seen Bob Kane's name all of our lives, and Athena, yes.
Thank you.
But we would definitely loved having you, Athena. Please come back anytime you have something going on. Anytime.
This was great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, here, let me let Rob say hi. He's been waiting in the background. At least I caught him with a shirt on this time. The other day, man, it was scary.
Oh, come on, he's a sexy beast.
You're muted. Hang on, let me unmute you, Rob.
Times are tough. I got to make money anyway I can. You know, No, it's great seeing Athena. I hope you guys are safe. I hope everything's going well.
We are. We're doing well. I hope you guys are doing well too over there.
I can't run into Athena and talk to her anymore. It's horrible. We get to see each
Good enough. Good enough. There's the little man. Hi.
Here's the troublemaker.
See,
I just wanted to. I called Matt a jerk because I'm like, I am not a comic book person at all. So it's like, I said, yeah, I met Rick Stafford. He does the True Aquaman cosplay and stuff, and Athena, Batman, and he goes, Athena finger. He's like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm like, I didn't know I was in the presence of royalty.
You notice how I made them all stay at the background. They've been here the whole time. I wouldn't let them in.
I was like, you want to be all to yourself.
Yep, exactly.
And actually, we've got Rick Stafford that's coming on next, and you are more than welcome to stay during his time.
Oh, okay.
Unless he wants to butch out.
No.
We're just waiting for him. We're waiting in the queue, or we're waiting for him to pop in here. But it's a few more minutes.
Yeah, he's still got a couple of minutes. But
actually, before we go on, I wanted to do one more giveaway. We have got a T-shirt from Enfuego Films. I don't have a graphic for it yet, but I wanted to give that away. So it is Enfuego Films. They're going to be a guest with us in a little bit. Let me see my schedule here. Enfuego Entertainment is going to be here from 3:30 to 4. So they are going to, we're kind of teasing it with a T-shirt. And so if you are viewing and you want a T-shirt, leave a comment in any of our platforms here, and we're going to put your name in the randomizer and select for that. And I'll give it back to you guys.
Well, Rob, I was wanting to make sure. Did you have anything that we missed? Was there any tidbits that you know about Athena that we didn't cover here?
Well, you guys didn't talk about how awesome an artist she is and show off her art.
Well, we didn't show off her art.
I have her sketchbook at home. It's one of my cherished possessions. I have it with collectible stuff, so it's awesome. One day I'm going to get her to do a cover from one of my kids' books.
I love that. I actually did a cover for somebody down in Fort Lauderdale that has his own comic that he's been doing for the last several decades. So hopefully that will be printed soon, and I'll be able to share that with everyone. So, which was fun. I enjoyed that.
Definitely something I'm looking forward to because, of course, Athena was one of the first people I ever talked to about Cat Dad and Supermom. She was someone we were talking about it with. So it's funny, we don't talk about this a lot, but we really miss running into our friends, and it's great to see her on air now and just to sit in the back and just hear her voice and be around her again was super cool.
Well,
I know it's so hard not being able to connect with our con family, and it's been kind of weird. Like usually I'm like doing a zillion and one things, and I'm like, oh well, I guess I have time to do like 5 more paintings.
Yeah, and so I've got to ask the real question here. Does Athena have her I got spanked button?
No, I'm not. Nope. She's able to get any book she wants from my table. She knows that. But no, I wouldn't. Even if she asked me, I'd be like, no. I can't like that. That's too intimidating. No, thank you.
Hey, now, what does that mean?
I'm intimidating you, Rob.
No, but look at her boyfriend. Her boyfriend would kick my ass, and I don't say that often. He would take me down to the ocean and just beat me. Just beat me. No, I'm not doing that. No, thank you. I know my lane. I stay in it.
I got the exact reaction out of Rob I was hoping for. I thought I knew the answer to that question, and I was thinking I could get him with that one, but that was actually even better than I was expecting. Oh, now, how long ago did you two guys meet? I take it you met at a con, right?
We did. We met at a tiny little convention in Mount Dora. I mean, literally a postage-sized convention. And he actually wasn't dressed as Aquaman, and I actually wasn't promoting Bill Finger's story. I was kind of promoting my artwork. So cool. Neither one of us were like really talking about who we really were. So We connected several months after that, and I, kind of was like, hey, this is, my connection to the comic world, and, went from there. He told me about how he got into cosplay and things like that. So, I mean, it was kind of, in the cards for us to connect. It's been awesome ever since.
So, I see all the collectibles back there, Athena. Are you spending more money at the cons than what you would bring in? That was always my problem.
Actually, all of that stuff is Rick's stuff. He used to be part of the 501st, so he has a lot of his old armor.
Gotcha.
And a lot of this stuff is from when his son was still with us. I'll let him talk about that. So I kind of share my studio / office with his collection of Star Wars stuff.
I got you.
But I figured since the helmets were showing, I would showcase my Star Wars piece behind me.
Certainly.
I'm trying to show it, but whatever.
I'm a big fan of any Star Wars work, but my wife did one, and it made me laugh and be excited all at once. She did a new David versus Goliath, but it was Baby Yoda versus Smaug, and she did so well on the details of the scales. And Baby Yoda's just sitting there with his hand up and his little cup of coffee or soup or whatever it was, and I was like, that is just the coolest Star Wars thing I've seen in a long time.
Well, this one is actually a cover that Carmine did. Carmine and my grandfather were really good friends. And here, let me see if I can actually show you the piece here. It's really big, so it's kind of hard to see it, but it's this cover here.
Very cool.
And I have the original comic, and the background for that one is originally pink.
It was pink?
Oh yeah. It had pink, and it was a box, and it kind of was Starburst box looking. It's bizarre, and I was like, I can't do that. That doesn't look like space. So I changed the background completely to have a space looking background, and then kept the original image. So I did this one a few years ago. It's for sale if anybody wants it.
Hey, there you go, guys. Hey, there's Amanda. Amanda King said hi, everybody. Amanda's a friend of mine. Hi, Amanda. I say a friend. She's like a really, really good friend.
Let me find out where Rick is for you, because he's late.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm about to chase him down on social media here. But in the meantime, I've got a giveaway going. You guys need to leave a comment if you're in the live audience, because you have to attend in order to get any of these prizes. And, physical prizes. We've got some PDF comic books. We've got physical comic books. We've got a few other things that are really cool. We did a reveal yesterday. Was it yesterday, Matt?
Yep.
All my days are kind of mushing together.
Running together.
Yeah. Yep. I did want to share something. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to be, if you guys are going to get audio, but I just wanted to pop this in here real quick. Let me just get set up because, all of this technical stuff, this is our first time out trying to do a virtual con, and so we're going to have some technical glitches, and I'm so nervous that our live stream is going to get cut off like it was the previous one. And if that's the case, I have another link, and then we all just kind of jump on, we say our goodbyes, or continue on and stuff like that. So I just wanted to premise this, that we are working through this, and we're kind of going with the flow here. So just bear with us. I'm going to try and share a screen here real quick, and you guys let me know if you can hear it. Hold on a second. Can you see that okay? Oh, you
can see it.
Yeah, cool. Yep. I'm going to hit the play button here.
No.
No, you can't hear it? Shoot. All right, we're gonna try that. We're gonna try that again. Yeah, if you want to get
Meredith, it's on mute.
It's on mute.
I think you're on mute. Look at your little volume thing. Make sure it's all the way up on the video itself.
Okay, hold on.
Play and fast forward or next.
Might be right.
Try it now.
Let me try this again.
If not, send me the link and I'll get it to play from my end.
Yeah, I'm going to do that because I know that you can get video to work. All right. I'm going to send that over to you.
All right.
Get me off a share screen here. Stop screen.
I know that I talked to Rick that he's having a hard time logging in, so I think he is still attempting. I told him to use Google Chrome, so.
Yeah, Chrome, your iPhone should be okay, or Android device. I mean, even if he's on the phone and stuff like that, it's kind of a pain in the butt trying to hold.
I think sometimes it gives Safari a error, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah, and we have 6 seats here, so you guys are more than welcome to stay and talk to each other and interact. And Rob, I'm sending you the YouTube link for that so that we can share that. And that's from the Indie Originals guys.
All right, just give me 1 second. I'm going to have to go through my other account because I think something about where I'm using this account's being funny. So just give me 1 minute. I'll hop on my other one.
Yeah.
Be right back.
So Irene wants in on all of the giveaways. We've actually got a lot of stuff.
One of the coolest things too, Irene, you might want to save your luck because well, we're giving away a gaming backpack, which I don't know if you're a gamer or not, but we have a autographed Doctor Who photograph that is going to be going out.
I know Christian wants in on that one.
Yeah.
I'm sure he does.
Like, duh.
Right. Did you even tell him about it yet?
No. I'm sure he'll find out sooner or later. Oh, okay. We had to add
Hello. All right.
I forgot that you didn't have the tools when you're signed in as you.
Yeah, this is from my StreamYard account. So it's on a different browser. For some reason, Firefox is giving me trouble sharing the video. So I came here. All right. So
hey guys, how you doing?
You could hear that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to share it directly so you guys can see it too, so we're not just hearing it. And screen share. All right. And StreamYard. And if you could just share that with everybody, I'll be able to play the video.
Hey guys, how you doing? This is GeekInsider from Indie Originals. This year, for Indie Originals 2020, we've added another category, and that's comic books. Independent comic book creators. That's right, guys. Here we are. We're inside a comic book shop. And look at all these beautiful comic books. I want to tell you, indie comics are the backbone of Marvel and DC because Marvel and DC cherry picks certain creators, and they make these guys superstars. So that's why we added comic books. Because I'm a comic book guy as well. I'm the creator of Bookas, soon to be released feature film. And we also have Terrence Baker as a judge, along with Dino Mazzarina, who does the Unbelievable Monsters Detergent Man, along with his little comic strip that he does for the Chicago Tribune. You need to sign up. You can go to www.indieoriginals.com and sign up for the Indie Originals Comic Book Contest. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. Peace out.
There you go. And now it's doing that weird thing because I can't. But there you go. A new competition for indie creators.
Fantastic.
Very cool.
And all right. Sorry, guys. Give me just 1 second.
I was totally on mute trying to say that I love those guys. They are so cool. They are so cool. And indieoriginals.com, go visit them. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff that they're doing. You know, I mean, between Bookas and Indie Originals and the Underpresents and, you know, Chuck with the marketing and voiceovers and things like that. And they're just really amazing guys. So if you are, you know, if you're watching, please follow them. Hey, hey! Look who we have.
Yay! It
Hey.
worked.
Oh, can we hear?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, you guys should be able to hear me pretty well.
Yes.
Hey there.
There he
Hey.
is. Where did Rob go?
I guess he ran out, or maybe he was
What's
switching
what's
computers.
going on here?
Well, are you reading the comics?
What's going on with it? We got a little
Aquaman-
facial hair going on there.
Yeah, Aquaman has a beard right now. If you read the comics, you'd know that.
Oh. Just-
Oh, I told you I'm not a comics girl. I am so out of here.
Yeah.
and,
I only go because I'm with him, okay? Like, I have no idea what was going on with the character.
Well, that was one of the things when I read your bio, Athena. You were like, you were trying to tell people about Bill Finger, and then and people kind of rejected you, and you stopped, and so you weren't really in the comic scene at all. And then so now you are here with the True Aquaman, who is like totally in the cosplay and comic scene, and
Where did that happen?
advocating for Bill Finger and Batman and comics, and you're going to all of these events. I mean, that must have been just kind of a crazy switch, I mean, we all reach those points where we are, where we have these kind of life-changing events and things like that. So it must have been really kind of interesting and going, how did I get on this?
It was definitely out of my comfort zone. But you know what? The fans are awesome. They really are. They made me feel super comfortable, even though I was so uneducated about the genre and the character. And, I learned so much from other people about Batman and about my grandfather because I never met him. So I got to hear other people's stories that were in the industry or just people who knew him or even got a chance to work with him. So I really was embraced, and I embraced being part of the culture.
Rick, how did you get into cosplay and going to the cons and eventually meeting Athena?
Ooh, wow. You went right out of, oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
I was going to say, I was reading some of your bio, and I, grab some tissues. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, you hit the big question right out of the chute.
Oh, wait a minute.
And I'm going to. We're going to put that right out there because I mean I think that really launched you. And I'm sorry if that was a little giveaway, but I'm going to shut up and let you speak.
Okay. My cosplay world actually started in the Star Wars world, not the Aquaman world. In fact, if you look behind Athena, you'll see some helmets up on the shelf. And right? Oh,
wrong one. Sorry.
There you go. Yeah, the helmet that you see in the middle, the Episode 2 clone helmet that you see up there, right above Yoda, that was actually my first official cosplay in the cosplay world. And the way that came about was, I want to say 16 years ago now. There was a young boy who had developed leukemia, and at the age of 7, he was having a rough time of it, and he started watching the Star Wars movies while in the hospital. And then one night, just out of blue, said, "Am I becoming a Jedi?" So I was there with him, and I lied to him, and I said, "Yes, this is what's happening. You're becoming a Jedi. You're not fighting cancer. You're becoming a Jedi." So I went out, bought him a Jedi costume, got him everything, the robe, the FX sword, the one that lights up with the sound effects, and went about basically training him to be a Jedi. I went out and I bought a $1,000 Jedi master outfit, $500 boots, the whole outfit, sword. Started getting books on meditation, thoughtfulness. Buddhist monks, started studying the ways of the Buddhist monks because that's what George Lucas had used for the storyline of the Jedi. And so every time I would visit with this little boy named Christian, I would teach him about the ways of the Force. We would do sword fighting practice because I would read books on sword fighting, how, for beginners, and everywhere he went, he would wear the Jedi robes and whatnot. Well, about I want to say 9-10 months later, he succumbed to the cancer. The leukemia took his life, and the next day he went to the crematorium dressed as a Jedi. I went to the crematorium, had them bring his body out. I dressed him as a Jedi. So when he was cremated as a Jedi. And
Man.
then, this young boy was my son. And he passed away at the age of 8. And so I had invited a group called the 501st to be his honor guard. And so they showed up in force. And when you walked to the memorial service, you had to walk through a line of Jedis and stormtroopers. And then they made him officially a member of the 501st and the Rebel Legion. To my knowledge, he is still the only child who actually has an adult designation, and that would be TC 1219, which is his birthday. And the TC designation is for clone trooper because he believes in the Jedi so much. His whole thing was about the Army of the Republic. Now, he passed away 3 months prior to Revenge of the Sith. So he never saw the clones turn on the Jedi. So in his mind, they were still his people. And so after the ceremony was over, at the wake following the ceremony, the 501st guys were there, and they made an announcement. And they said, Rick, because of what you did for your son, we would love you to join our ranks. And they brought out this big box, and inside was a clone trooper costume, or kit, not a whole costume, just a kit. Including that helmet that you saw earlier. And they said, you've got 3 months to complete that costume and meet us in Miami for the premiere of Revenge of the Sith. And so for the next 3 months, I learned everything I could about cosplay. I spent more time in Joann's fabric than I ever thought I would as a male. I was learning how to do snaps and rivets and JB Weld and how to paint and use Dremel tools. In fact, I burned out 2 Dremel tools in the process of learning all this. And it was an experience, and I completed the costume the day before the whole ordeal down in Miami. And so when I got to Miami, it was my very first public cosplay event, and so that's how I officially got involved with cosplay.
Wow.
Yeah, big question.
I told you, grab the tissues because I am like bawling over here.
Yeah.
Way to go, Mayor.
Yeah, man, we're gonna have to talk about your position with this company after this one.
My bad. My bad.
No, thanks so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's it was a touching story to begin with, that you were going and visiting this kid, and then when you revealed that it was your son, that was I have 5 kids. I've raised 5 kids, and I just can't imagine that pain, and then the honor of what these guys did and everything that you went through with that. I can see how cosplay has a special place in your heart, and I know that it has to be kind of taken a lot away that the cons are closed right now.
It is, but it actually drove me in a direction later in my life. I was doing charity visits to hospitals, clinics, did lots and lots of charity work for different organizations, everything from the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, cancer organizations, back when Livestrong was still strong. So I've got, I don't know, dozens upon dozens of different charity events that I've done over the past 15 years as a cosplayer. And eventually I decided to get into the medical field. Well, while I was going into that field, and that field is actually occupational therapy, which probably 80% of the people in the world have no idea what occupational therapy is, but I'll get into that in a minute. One of the routes that we could take is geriatric or pediatric. Well, because of what I had gone through, I swore to myself, I was going to avoid pediatrics at all costs because of the fear factor of having to deal with a child that may remind me of my son. So I get through the entire program, get my national license taken care of, and I go to work or try to go to work, and there's nothing available except pediatric. So I, of course, you got to work. So I bit the bullet, went into pediatrics. And I've had such an amazing experience with these kids because I'm such an imaginative person. I can work with children, whereas with geriatric, you're just kind of doing repetitious. And for those of you who don't know what occupational therapy is, I give people their lives back. So if you've had a stroke, if you've had a bad fall, if you're having any kind of issues in life, occupational therapists, their job is to give you the maximum independence of your life back. So that might include, everything from learning how to get out of bed, brush your teeth, wash your face, cook yourself a meal, and be functional in society, all the way to how to balance your checkbook again after a head injury, or how to have interaction with other people. You may have lost social skills, and so I have to teach social skills. Well, now my bread and butter, my day-to-day job is working with children with autism who are already developmentally delayed, depending on where they are on the spectrum. And so I go about helping them maximize their independence in the real world. So that's my day-to-day job. And thankfully, because of the pandemic's situational distancing and the loosening of requirements, I'm now able to do what we call telemedicine or telehealth. So I actually work with these children still, just like I normally would, but I go and work through internet. And we work on drills, flashcards. I have a little whiteboard. In fact, here's my little whiteboard, and I'll work on things, read this, or I'll give them a math question, or I'll give them a scenario and say, all right, describe what you see on this, so I can work with them. I get little activity books, and I hand deliver each one of them books like this and say, all right, let's open it up to this page here. All right, now we're going to work on this little maze right here. So let me watch you do that. And so I'm being an essential worker still, but I'm getting to work from home for the most part.
Right. And, a lot of folks are having to do that right now. They're having to try to morph their positions to a work at home model. And it doesn't always work for everyone.
It doesn't. But I think when this is all said and done in about a year, and I'm sorry to say this is going to take about a year, for all of those out there like going, well, I can't wait for June. I can't wait. No, if you're watching the actual medical experts out there, not the media, but Athena and I we watch medical professionals every day give their briefing. And this is going to be a 16 to 18 month ordeal. And it's unfortunate, but after this is all said and done, I think about 30% of those positions out in the world that are still existing will become televised or mobile.
Right.
So it's changing everybody's lives.
And Rick, you definitely got props, man, because I used to be a paramedic way back in the day.
EMT firefighter. Yeah.
And I was a firefighter as well, but I had the exact opposite. I was doing it 24/7. I did it as a full-time job. Also did it as a volunteer in the little town I lived in. And my girls were really little at the time. And I had multiple incidents right in a row with children. I had 2 SIDS. I had a car accident that she was targeting with brain damage. They were just bam, 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 bam. And I kept seeing my own kids in those faces. And not so much that, but when the parents would start to cry, then it started affecting me. And because I've learned that I'm an empath and very empathetic. And so that was at that point that I was like, all right, I've got to find another career here. I'm in the wrong one.
I went from tough career to tough career. Right out of high school, I worked for the Defense Department and for 6 years, and I fought the drug war. So I was on the front lines of the drug war. From there, I got out of that, and I went to work as a firefighter, professional firefighter, for 6 years. I went through standards, went through EMT, and I was hired on. And while I was a firefighter, not only was I just a standard guy, I went to hazmat school, so I became a hazmat tech. I was part of something in Volusia County, short-lived, called the Shark Team, or Special Hazards and Rescue Company. So we were a dedicated unit with our own pager that went out for every specialized emergency out there. So we were like the special forces of the fire service in Volusia County. Yeah. And then from there, retired from there after 6 years, went to work as a school teacher. And I was a school teacher. I taught middle school and high school history and economics and American government.
So did you have just a torture wish there early in life?
Well, if you look behind me here, you can see all of this. You can see all of this stuff back here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got my 2 master's degrees. I actually have 2 master's degrees. I've got 2 associate's degrees, a bachelor's degree. This is me back here. Let's see if I can do it. Yeah, this is my certification becoming an aquanaut. I lived underwater for several days and trained. You can see my Eagle Scout back behind there. My Ironmans. Some of the other things on the wall, the other side. Anyway, and then everything else is in front of me. So, yeah.
Wait, Ironman, as in a triathlon Ironman?
Yes, I've done 2 fulls, 6 halves.
Goodness gracious. And you lived underwater, so you are indeed a true Aquaman.
I am. I actually did a swim around the island of Key West, a 13-mile swim competition, and finished first place in 4 hours and 23 minutes.
Wow.
Okay. So
I had a quick question though.
Yeah.
With being that you're a certified scuba master diver and everything, is the COVID stuff affecting that? I mean, can you go out there, because that to me is about as self-distancing as you can get from people. If
you are diving with a partner who you know to be clean or corona free, you could shore dive, but if you're going to go boat diving, you're going to be in close proximity to the other divers. I mean, you guys literally sit butt cheek to butt cheek on the dive boat until you get to the location. So social distancing on dive boats might be problematic, but if you wanted to go scuba diving off a beach, have at it. There's no problem there. The fill station, that's medical grade air when they pump it into the tank, so you don't have to worry about the possibility of the air being problematic. So, and that was another job that I had after I was done teaching it. I went to work for Disney World as a shark diver for 13 years. So I worked in the Living Seas shark tank for 13 years. So yeah.
I just thought I was a jack of all trades. You're a jack of all trades and got the degrees to prove it.
Yeah.
So if the world does turn back on come June, are you guys going to go to MegaCon, or will you be sitting it out and kind of waiting to see what happens?
Knowing what I know about this virus, I would sit out Mega.
Yeah,
that's just
happen.
No, I don't see it happen. They're looking to extend it right now to the end of June anyway, the stay-at-home orders. And that's what everyone doesn't understand. People are under the impression that as soon as they lift this ban, that means you're immune now.
Right.
No, it's still there. We're going to have another wave, because when they open things up, people are going to go back out, commingle. It's still there. Those who haven't had it already will then get it. You'll have another batch of people in the hospital. And they're already telling people, if you wind up on a ventilator, there's only a 20% chance of survival. So all these hospitals saying, we've got ventilators. Well, that's great for 20% of people that wind up that bad off. And unfortunately, people are going from just a dry cough to deceased in 48 to 72 hours. It's scary.
It is. And my wife and I actually just went through the biggest part of the scare. She had to be tested. And I'll just keep giving her a hard time, leave it up to her to get another respiratory infection in the middle of a pandemic.
This is flu season and allergy season. So
right. We thought it was allergies at first, because she gets the flu shot every year. She doesn't get the flu, but she started running a 99 fever. She had this cough for several days, and she's real lethargic. And so she called her doctor, and she has a lot of underlying health issues. And so she called, and what pissed me off, and I didn't want to turn this into a COVID thing, but I will real quick, was that she had to call a nurse. The nurse screened her the night before. The next day, because she passed that step, the doctor called her. Then because she passed that step, a government scheduler called her. And then we had to go to a full-on scene out of an apocalyptic movie where we had to go to a tent city, pass through the cops, show up against the window, because you can't roll down your window, show your phone with the email confirmation and ID, and they're all wearing their mask. And it was just very
It's something out of a horror movie. Yeah, it's like something out of a horror movie.
And, thankfully, thank God, the test came back, but it took 48 hours for the test.
Yeah, you're chewing your nails waiting.
Yeah. And like I said, my wife has had bypass surgery. She's had health issues her whole life. So we were, chomping at the bit, wanting to know what the news is. And then you hear about, these people that aren't even presenting symptoms, and they're getting tested. And, especially, celebrities, sports figures. I forget who it was. I just saw it on Twitter last night where she was like, you should be pissed that I got tested and you didn't. And, because my thing is not only those that, they didn't test me. Anybody in the house, my mother-in-law has bad health. We should have all been tested. But no, they didn't test anyone. But they can, anybody, Chris Cuomo's whole entire family got tested, but none of them were presenting. I mean, it's very lopsided here. And
it is.
And the whole thing is that I was getting to is that we don't know. Nobody knows right now. There's not been enough time to pass. And so even, the 1st of June is just a little over a month and a half away. Would I chance going out? I probably would if it was just me in the house and I wasn't going to be around anybody else. But being around,
being around 50,000 people,
exactly.
That you're just asking for trouble. And I've been in the cosplay world for 16 years, and do I want to see a major con like this go? I'm bummed that it's not until July, but even San Diego Comic-Con, I believe, will be called at this point. And those are major ones. Those are some of the big ones. And
California just extended their stay-at-home order, ahead of the curve, and they've been lucky on keeping a lot of their cases down somewhat. But
I make a joke about the fact that people in California are social distancing people anyway. They don't shake hands. They just do the kind of thing.
Well, when all this came down, I said, hell, I've been practicing this for 20 years. I've worked from home forever. It's just another day at the office for me. But Meredith, where did you go, woman? I need you to take over for just a minute, please, ma'am.
Don't look, take over. Tell me, Meredith.
I'll be right back, guys.
Was I summoned?
Yes.
First of all,
were your eyeballs swimming, Matt?
Yes. Speak the devil's name, and the devil appears. I'll be right back.
Sir, first of all, if you go fishing in any water capacity, the fish already automatically do social distancing anyway. They keep away. Like, dude, you're fine. So I
was listening in the background. You think that it's really, you think con season for 2020 is done?
Until the late fall, at least. And even then, I think it's going to be a whole different animal. I think, if anything, people who are cosplayer are going to start coming up with characters that require masks just for the sake of being able to protect themselves.
And with due respect to people who cosplay, goes to conventions, for some, not everybody practices great hygiene when they're going to a convention.
Yeah, in fact, I do a whole panel called Fitness Geekery, and we have a whole subsection of that panel on the fact about hygiene.
I should not smell you before you come to my booth.
No.
That's the social distancing that I would like to have trained. But
rephrase that. You should not offend me before you get to my booth.
Well, define offend by that point in our conversation. Because we can never.
If you smell okay, if you smell nice, Now, there's some people that smell nice. You don't.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, come on over here. I like the way you
Something
smell.
like COVID-19, you better smell like roses. Trust me.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm going
I
to
think
say
that
it's
was
probably going to
something
be.
that Rob was saying earlier, that like convention crud. Is that what you call it?
Con crud. Yeah, for sure.
Comic crud.
Yeah, con crud is a real thing that people struggle with.
Yeah, I think it's going to be open season for anybody who carries a free hug sign.
I do. I give out hugs.
Yeah, but the guys who carry around the free hug signs are usually the people who offend the most body wise.
I don't carry it around. I keep it there, and I'll give up the hugs and just do Spanx all year for social distancing.
Yeah, there you go.
Social distancing reason.
Yeah, you'll just spritz down the paddle between.
My hand will get the lotion first. It'll rub the lotion on, and then the hand will.
Here's the funny part. When I'm going to conventions, this has actually been preordained. When the traveling TARDIS goes back to conventions, it will have a bottle of sanitizer and a thing of hand wipes for every person who takes a picture with it right now. I'm just like, I would have never have done this. Never have thought.
What you do is you drill out the bottom and you put a roll of those Lysol wipes in there, and they pull out from the bottom.
Don't tempt me. I've done weirder things with it. Things that I can say on the show.
Because I did a little bit of reading. You have how many cosplay costumes?
40 plus.
Wow! And over how many? What time period did you accumulate or start making all of these?
Well, I've been in the cosplay world for 16 years. I've got a lot of Star Wars costumes from the get-go. 3 different clone troopers. I've got a Grand Admiral. I've got a Jedi costume. I've got what all do I have in Star Wars? Well, I have a lot. I had one stolen from me, which was very sad. It was the Royal Guard, the Red Guard. Yeah, that was actually stolen from me. And the helmet, I actually performed on stage with Weird Al Yankovic with that cosplay, and he actually signed the inside of the helmet. So it was kind of sad to see that get taken. But yeah, so a lot of my initial ones were Star Wars related, and from there I started moving into some video games, so Assassin's Creed, Resident Evil, Fallout. Yeah, well, Fallout was recent, but I went from Star Wars to video game, and then from video game I got into superheroes because we started doing charity work again, but not with the 501st and Rebel Legion, but now as a superhero. So my first one was actually Angel from the X-Men. I have an $800 pair of wings that are made out of actual turkey quill, and actually they're made out of an airfoil. So if you in a wind, these wings actually lift, and yeah, I still have those. They're really cool. But unfortunately, the costume that I wore was the motorcycle costume from the movies, and not the X-Men from the comics. So I would have to rework the rig on it because it's so heavy that I could wear the spandex over it and not see all the mechanics of it. Because what would happen is there's a panel in the back that when I arch my back makes the wings actually flap while I'm walking around. So wow. Yeah. And then from there I went to Iron Man.
Have you retired any of them? Like they're just kind of going to be in the closet or on display somewhere? Or?
Well, not on display only because I don't have the room for display purposes. But I do have a wardrobe that actually it held a whole lot of the older ones. Like I said, the Angel costume has been kind of retired because I'd have to revamp it. My Iron Man, I've retired my Iron Man. That's an 85-pound costume. Wow. Yeah, it's an impressive costume, but it's not practical to wear. It takes over half an hour just to put it on. And because of the weight and the way it wears, I can only wear it for a short time. And in a major convention setting, it's just too difficult to get out of there in a hurry if I need to. Let's see, superhero wise. Yeah, I've got just James Bond. Think about all the different ones I've got. Several different movie ones I've got out there. Shoot, Athena probably could tell you more than I can think of.
A lot of them are Aquaman. He has like 10 different Aquaman outfits.
Actually, 12. I have 12 versions of Aquaman.
I lost
yeah. Yeah. 12 variations on Aquaman alone. And not one of them.
I think it's just ticked
Well, we're
off
getting
because you
towards
can't use
the,
walk-in closet anymore.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's all taken
like
up by
who
Rick.
has the largest walk-in closet,
Oh,
right?
he does.
Oh, I do. It's a man cave. It literally is
Yeah,
a man
it's-
cave.
Yeah.
It has a library in it. That's how big my closet is. It actually
Wow.
it has its own library.
Well, we've got about 5 more minutes, so I want you guys to just, let us know where our listeners and followers can follow you guys and, help grow your social media. I'm going to let Matt pop back in the seat, and I'm going to get ready for the next session here. Thank you guys for being part of Geek Out Virtual Con. We really appreciate it. We're going to follow up with you guys later.
Okay. So, Athena, I'll let you start.
I stated earlier, I do have a website, just my name, www.athenafinger.com, or you can find me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Just put my name in and you'll find me. So
Fantastic. And how about you, Rick?
Let's see, on Instagram, I'm the True Aquaman. On Twitter, unfortunately, it was already taken, so I'm the King Aquaman on Twitter. And on Facebook, you can find me under my actual name, Rick Stafford, or because unfortunately the True Aquaman page that I had, Facebook, something happened with Facebook and it deleted the entire page after many years. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, out of nowhere. Yeah, it was just bizarre. It wasn't a hack or anything. It just, one day it was there, the next day it was gone. And so we're still trying to figure out what happened with that. But yeah, so Instagram, the True Aquaman, Twitter, the King Aquaman, and on Facebook, you can find me under my name, Rick Stafford.
Fantastic. Well, thank you both so much for joining. Rick, thanks for sharing your story. Athena,
My pleasure.
You're always welcome, ma'am. The heiress to the Bat Cave. Like I said, you were the guest that, and I can make other people upset or whatever, but you were the guest I was most looking forward to.
Oh, thank you. So kind.
And so I really appreciate y'all coming. And anytime that, like I was telling Athena earlier, anytime you guys are gonna, once the world turns back on, if y'all got a place that you're showing up, you got something new that you're pushing, anything, just drop us a line, Matthew or Meredith at GeekInsider.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all so much. Y'all take care. Stay safe and healthy, okay?
If Rick continues his cosplay, he's going to take over the Batcave. I'm probably.
Well,
that'll be next.
Well, no, actually, in that real quick teaser, I am looking to do a 1939 Bill Finger Batman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, then maybe we'll be able to see that Space Coast Con next year. And,
and maybe even an Alan Scott Green Lantern, which is also Bill Finger's creation.
Right. Very cool, man. Now you got it. Now you got me chomping at the bit for next year, because I already told Meredith if everything goes right, I'm flying in for next year. So.
There you go. There you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We're going to get ready for the next link. And
all right, guys.
See you guys soon. Thanks so much.
It's a pleasure. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Athena. All right, Meredith, I guess we need to back out of here.
Yep, I'm setting up the other room. Oh no,
Okay.
you're fine. You guys are good.
Oh, okay.
Well, we can stay put.
I thought we had to back out.
We can stay put.
Yeah, we can stay put, I guess. But
all right. I have to apologize for earlier. I hit the wrong
Put with
X.
the going.
Aha! It was
That was
Christian.
Well, I'm going to leave this studio and I'm hopping onto the other one.
Okay. Oh, so we do have to leave. She lied. I thought we were just flying out here. All right, I'll see you over there.
All right. What's the link? Oh, here we go. Bye.
Bye.